Whatever. I don't do the sound effects. You know that. How's it going, everybody? It has been too long. It has been too gosh darn long. It's good to see everybody. Welcome to the first official GABBIN+GAMES Halloween special. So listen, yeah, you heard the Diet Coke. The Diet Coke never goes away. This has been a hard stream to get rolling today because there's been a lot of changes and a lot of stuff. And but I'm glad to be here with you motherfuckers. I'm glad to be here talking about my favorite holiday of the year, which is the Halloween. Now listen, if you're wondering why you can't type, this is a everybody hangout chat. This is a everybody hangout stream. Everyone is welcome, but it is a members only chat. There's a lot of great things that come with memberships, but one of them is definitely being able, not on all the streams, and most streams anyone can talk, but on special streams we do members only. So that's what's going on if you're like, why the fuck can't I talk? Trey Trimble did the opening graphic, which I hope you saw that. It's fucking beautiful. Let's show it one more time real quick. We got some great new art from Trey. We got ourselves some great new art from Deoctorock over there, but we are running a little bit behind, so I want to tell you guys what the day holds for us. We have a lot of interesting stuff. I hope you caught our interview yesterday with Adam Caesar, who is a horror author. If you didn't, I'll be putting that up on the stream, on the video Monday-ish, Sunday, something like that. Really interesting conversation if you're into horror movies, horror books, horror comics, horror games, just the whole genre. It was fun. It was fun to talk to him. We were going to talk today to the creator of Pumpkin Jack. Something came up with his game. The guy he really is a one-man shop. That guy when I asked him, we did like a pre-interview, that guy did everything other than a couple. I mean, he's doing a patch right now and it's all him. So hopefully we can schedule that next week. But what that did is it opened up an opportunity for us to speak to an authentic psychic. He is going to call in. He is going to tell us his stories. He is going to talk to us about sort of what he does and how he does it. And I have a million questions for the guy, but his focus is talking to dead military people. I don't know if he only speaks to the dead who have served or if he's just like anyone comes to him, but he says he's open to taking some phone calls on the Discord. So if you are going to be interested in talking to him, we're going to put that up. He's going to come on at the top of the show. I want to show you in a minute. I want to get a trailer up because I want to show you what he does. Let me bring this up really quickly. By the way, Afrally, thank you for that. The first super chat of the day. It's very kind of you and very courteous. As always, I appreciate it. Hang on. Military Medium is what he goes by. And let's see if I can show you a quick little... His name is Dean McMurray.
Seems like a really nice guy. Spoke with him a few minutes ago on the, what's it called? On the, on the goddamn computer. On the goddamn, what is the thing called, people? I don't know. I'm drunk today. On the Facebook, fellas, on the Facebook. This is his sizzle reel. And we're going to be talking to him in just a second. It's like 30 seconds. Let me show you this guy. This is pretty impressive stuff. Here we go. All right, this is Dean. Check him out.
I am Dean McMurray. I served 24 years in the United States Army. But now I'm in service as a medium. I use my psychic abilities in helping veterans, their families, communicate with the fallen in the spiritual realm. So I speak to dead people.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to tell you what I just said. What I was going to say is I'm very excited to talk to this guy. I absolutely, am always wondering about the dead, and what it means to cross over and all that stuff. And so I'm absolutely excited to talk to him. Later in the show, we will be giving this away. So, these just came in the mail today. We've got a Sweet Tooth Funko Pop ice cream truck right there. It's beautiful. We've got a boxed one I'm giving away today. And that, I'm still muted. I'm not muted anymore, am I? This is one. I got one for me. This is what it looks like open. It's a really good figure. It's really fucking cool. And it's got the little ice cream dude on the top. But this is the one from Black, basically. It's really nice. And we will be doing either, depending on our schedule, we will either be doing horror trivia or we will be doing kind of like Pictionary. Well, I'll draw like a horror thing on Photoshop and we'll figure out what's up. And then so here's what we're doing. We're gonna talk in just a couple of minutes to Dean. And then we might take a break. Depends how long that conversation goes, but I'm super excited for it. Afterwards, we're going to talk about horror. We're going to talk about haunted houses. We're going to do some virtual haunted tours. I want to show you some creepy relics. I want to show you some brains of a serial killer that they have studied. I am very interested, very excited in all this stuff to share with you guys. We're going to be looking at some gruesome Halloween haunt decorations in people's homes. Obviously, the Discord line is open. Call in with your stories if you want to talk about Halloween and all that good stuff. Call in if you want to talk to Dean. Again, if you want to chat, there's a link down below that talks all about membership. There's all kinds of things. We're doing our first movie night. I'll show you a trailer for what the movie is. That's going to be Saturday for members at Cult Calypso and above. So just, while you're here, think about joining. We'd love to have you. But and then after that, we're going to play some games. Puppet Combo sent me a copy of his brand new game, Murder House. We're going to play that, and we're going to play some short form horror today to wrap everything up. So that is what is going on. Let me, now you're going to have to bear with me for a minute because here we go. This is Dean. So I wish this was seamless, but you guys know me. I don't have a producer. I'm not technically minded, so you're gonna have to bear with me for a minute while I get this working. So okay, I have got that is that. Okay, now I need to bring up the Steam again. I apologize, fellas. I wish I could just roll through this shit. That's not my new animation, Onions. That is good Sir Trey Trimbles who made that for us. Oh, and then look at DW Octorock's dude up there. I love that goddamn dude. Look at that dude, and there's so much detail in it too. I'll show it to you in a minute, but I want to get Dean on the line first because this is, I'm currently filled with a great deal of anxiety about how to make this screen pop up. There it is. Okay. Come on, Jaffe. Where is it? Because I've got like 17 screens open right now is what it is. So, yeah. Return to meeting, possibly. There it is. There's the meeting, Jaffe. Okay, so I am going to participants. I am going to send out an invite to Dean. One moment. Where's the link? Zoom is kind of a little. Okay. All right, fellas. Invite. Let's invite Dean. I need a link. Okay. All right, that should do it. Okay, so he should have it now. And then I'm going to turn off this camera so I can turn on the Discord camera or the Zoom camera, okay? So there's that. Sorry, fellas. Mike Garcia, of course. I'm happy to do it. I love this stuff. I love. Hang on. Let me turn off my OBS camera. I think this stuff is. I'm fascinated by this stuff, man. Okay, let me turn off the webcam. Andrew Morales, thank you so much for joining the Diet Soda Soldiers, sir. I very much appreciate that, pal. It's very kind, very courteous of you. Let me just get rid of this webcam real quick, and so we can get Dean in here. There it is. Hang on. All right, deactivate camera. You should now not be able to see me, but you should still be able to hear me. And then, okay, Dean is here. I'm going to admit Dean. All right. Hey, Dean, are you there?
Hey, David, how you doing?
I am doing great. Give me 1 second. Let me get my picture up on the screen here.
You bet.
This is a little new for me. I usually use Discord, but I know Zoom is what all the hip kids are using these days, so I just got to get it. I got to get it working. Here we go. Oh, there we go. Okay, there's my camera. All right. Boom. There we go. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing all right, man. How
Good.
are you?
I'm doing great. I am so excited to talk to you.
Yeah.
You know, we usually on this show, we tend to talk about video games. We talk about geek culture. And for a long time, we were talking about a lot of supernatural stuff. And we were talking a lot about, you know, the fringes of sort of science and things like that. And
Sure.
I've always loved it. I've always been fascinated. I've always been this guy who's like, I'm not a skeptic. I'm not a believer. I absolutely want to believe this stuff. My mom used to believe this stuff. My sister found out I was talking to you, and she's like, oh my God, you know, she can't talk right now, but she's like, I want to talk to this guy, you know? So my whole family loves this stuff, but I've always been like, okay, how real is this? So
Sure.
I'm thrilled to be talking to somebody who actually can do this. And I got a bunch of questions. I know
Sure.
we've got people in our Discord who some of them are excited to talk. Some of them are like, I don't know, that's kind of scary. I don't know if I want to talk to that guy. But but I think I think it's going to be good. Okay, so you guys can you guys all see Dean in the chat, fellas? Okay, everybody can see you. All right.
Okay.
So where's my questions? I got some questions for you, man. I mean, the first question is you specialize. I mean, you were in the military, right? I mean, you were.
Yeah. So I served 24 years in the Army. So, and for those that are familiar with the military, I did 14 and a half years regular Army. So all infantry, ground combat, about 6 of those years I was a paratrooper.
Jesus.
So really kind of that alpha male mentality world. And then the last 10 years after Afghanistan.
Shucks, we lost. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay, we're back now. Okay, keep going. After Afghanistan.
Yep. So after Afghanistan, I decided to try to settle down, so to speak, and you know, I got a full-time gig with the Army National Guard in the state of North Dakota, and just, you know, trying to put down roots, so to speak, and you know, was more of an administrative folk and
Okay.
training and everything. So yeah, and that's in a synopsis. That was my world. It was a world of
Are you still working with the
no,
military? Okay.
no. I've been retired now about 7 years. So
Okay. So all through, when did your abilities? I mean, when you were, I mean, I'm assuming you were in Afghanistan. You saw action. You were jumping out of planes and whatnot. I mean, were these abilities latent? I mean, when did they come to you, or were you overseas and going, "Holy cow, I'm picking up on this stuff"?
well, it's funny. I wasn't aware of it until really my last 3 years of service, and the whole story goes is getting ready to retire, and we get notified to go to Kosovo, and lovely country, great coffee.
Okay.
But we went over there, and I wasn't aware of my abilities. I went over to Kosovo, came back, and then it's what I call when all holy hell started breaking loose. And what I mean by that is, quite honestly, clocks and pictures started coming off the wall. So if you think of the quintessential, poltergeist house, and I was like, holy crap, what the heck is going on? Because, I'm coming from a world of facts and figures. If you can't find it in a book or a manual, or if you can't shoot it or stab it, right? It's,
Right.
it's,
So
how
when
do you
clocks are coming off the
quantify
wall,
something
what does
like
that mean? I mean, you come into a room one day and things literally start falling off the
Yeah,
wall?
so it was quite literally like the kitchen. There was a clock in the kitchen that literally, like, somebody put their hand behind it and gave it a fling. It wasn't, and I was coming from the mindset of being very skeptical, and because there was a train in the little town that we were living,
Right.
that would come through, and so it would rattle some stuff. But I was like, starting to look at these drywall anchors and things like that, and I was like, there is no way that should be coming off the wall. Like, you would have to lift it, pull out, and jiggle it, whatever. And these things were just flying like somebody gave it a good toss.
Okay.
And I'm like, holy crap, what is going
How was it
on?
all at once, or like every couple days it would happen, or it's like you walked into the kitchen and it happened like six of them?
Oh no, it would happen every once in a while.
Okay.
So it was like, it wasn't happening constantly. Like every time I walked in, a clock would whiz past your head
Yeah.
or something like that. So, you might walk into the kitchen and the clock might come off the wall, and then the next day a picture or a decoration that my wife has up would come flying off that shouldn't.
Right. Okay.
So a lot of unexplainable things were happening periodically, and it was really quite unnerving because it was trying to make sense of something that, quite honestly, at the time I couldn't make sense of, because again, I was coming from that world of, hey, I'm trying to put logic to this, and there was no, little did I know, there was no space for logic, because the metaphysical, the intuitive, the paranormal, it doesn't follow the rules of logic. It doesn't follow the typical laws of what you would call nature, right? It breaks those paradigm thinking,
Right.
and it was completely mind-blowing to me.
Okay.
And I would have been, quite honestly, a lot more comfortable if somebody was trying to break into her home, or
Well, yeah. Then you
so,
could at least, So
right.
were you afraid of this? Were you like,
Well, at first I think I was, to be really honest with you, because it was something that, how do you can't tackle a ghost.
Right.
Spirit is, and I was like, well, what's going on? Number one, but what is this? But what do I do about it? Like,
Right.
who you call if, the brakes needs to be changed,
Right.
or what to do if somebody's breaking in. But what do you do if spirits are throwing stuff?
So so when did you, by the way, I just want to, just real quick, I want to let you know, I have a monitor here and a monitor here.
Yeah.
I have chat coming in here and I have questions here. I wouldn't want you to think I'm not, you're my focus.
No.
If I'm looking It's not because I'm like, it's because I'm making sure that, yeah,
please
okay.
do.
But,
Please do.
so when did you start to think, or when did it go from like, okay, this is weird, stuff's falling off my wall, to going,
Right.
this is spirit?
So funny with that is my wife confided in me when I was overseas that she had been seeing a local psychic lady.
Okay.
And it was always an interest of her, the paranormal, all that great stuff. And I was like, and I made the joking remark, like, you know, when her and her girlfriends would go see the psychic, that she was going to see her voodoo chick. That's what I was referring to the psychic as. And so when all this stuff started happening, I looked at my wife and I said, you need to get a hold of the voodoo chick.
Right.
And because I didn't know who do you call, right?
Right.
And so she came over and proceeds to tell me that my grandfather's there, and I was still
Wait, voodoo
skeptical.
chick comes over to your house and says your grandfather who had died.
Yes, my grandfather died back in the early 80s, right?
Okay. And he's in your house.
Yep, he's in my house.
Okay.
He's a World War I veteran.
Interesting.
Decorated and all this. And I was like, quite honestly, I'm looking at her sideways going, nothing against Grandpa, but why the hell's he here?
Right.
And she was like, well, he's here to support you after your deployment. And I was like, wait a minute. Kosovo wasn't that bad. Like, the worst part about Kosovo was being away from my family and maybe running out of coffee. Like, it wasn't a bad deployment at all.
Right.
And so I was like, why, while he's here supporting you? And I was like, where was he after Afghanistan? Where was he after Bosnia? Where, I'm going through my list of many years of deployments. And she said, well, I can't answer that, but I can tell you that he's here now. And I'm kind of in that skeptic in me wasn't really in the mood to even hear a message from Grandpa.
Right.
It was, I wanted her to stop all the craziness,
okay,
all the clocks flying around and stuff. And so she left and nothing changed. The clocks were still coming off the wall, the pictures, all that great stuff. And I thought, oh, great. Here we spent how much money, but quite honestly, nothing was stopping everything. And I was like, oh my God, what the heck's going on? And fast forward a couple weeks, and I was at the kitchen sink washing bottles for my then newborn son. And it was a knowing that washed over me that my grandmother was there. Now, a lot of people, that wouldn't freak them out. Hey, it's grandma. But my grandma died back when I was about 10.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, what the hell's going on? How do I know all of a sudden nobody's telling me that grandma's there? Nothing's moving. It's a knowing, right? And in the metaphysical world, or, that's called claircognizance. It's a clear knowing. And because every sense of your being knows that, your loved one is there, because whether we had a physical connection when they were alive or not. And she was very close to me, right? And I was arguing with myself how I knew that grandma was there. And quite honestly, out loud, I was arguing with myself going, I don't know how it's, and like two of me. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to end up in the funny farm, and I'm going to end up on meds.
Right.
But I was like, you know what? I need to go to bed. I must be tired. I must be a little scared, freaked out, whatever. But it was still like somebody was behind me all the time, like watching me. And it was freaking me out, to be quite honest.
Right.
But every time I turned around, there was physically nobody there. But I went to bed that night knowing that grandma was with me. And I laid in bed with my eyes closed, but not asleep. And I think it's just natural for anybody to just start, hey, grandma, how's it going? And that's what I kind of did. Hey, miss you, love you, all that great stuff.
In your head, or were you speaking out loud?
Yeah, no, in my head. And it was all one way. I wasn't receiving anything as far as audible messages, either outside of myself or inside of my head. And, but the skeptic in me, that my ego said, you know what, this is all BS, Dean. You're making this all up. I call my ego my drunk friend.
Okay.
Because it has supposedly better ideas, right? It's all BS, so you're making it up. And quite honestly, that voice in my head said, you know what, you're making it up. She needs to prove it. And
Your grandma needs to prove it.
Yeah, my grandmother needs to prove it. And she wasn't there to disappoint that evening, because immediately she turned the room absolutely frigid, like you would have walked out in the Midwest in the middle of January.
So wait a minute,
right?
when you weren't speaking out loud in your head, you're like, you know what, she needs to prove it, and suddenly the room goes cold.
Yeah, it was immediate, right?
Wow. Okay.
And then, of course, my logic has to try to figure it out. Like, what is that? And I was like, well, maybe it's off-peak power. The wife's got the window open. They got the fan, right? And so then my ego comes back and goes, you know what? This is all BS. We need to put this to rest. And she needs to touch us. Like, you know, because then there is no question of what's going on.
Okay.
And again, immediately, like a snap of the fingers, it was a gentle yet firm pressure from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet that pushed me into the mattress.
Wow. Okay.
And I could physically feel the weight on me. It wasn't mean. She wasn't trying to choke me, like you will believe, but it was more like my body became weighted, right? And then also I could hear the springs compress in the bed. I was sleeping on my side, to give everybody a reference. And quite honestly, it would have me freaked out at this point, because I was like, holy crap, what fifth seal the hell did I just break? And I must have pissed somebody off. And
let me ask you real quick, was that because I'm always intellectually curious about why we would be afraid of ghosts, but I get that feeling too. Right. So were you able to make that cognitive jump and go, oh, I must have pissed someone off? Or was it more primal, just like, this is scary because I don't know what the fuck is going on?
I think it was more, in the moment, it was more like, I don't know what the hell I just did.
Okay.
And I don't know what this is. So in that sense, it's scary. But at the same, when you're dealing with something new and something very, in my mind at the time, it was kind of traumatic because it was very visceral, right?
Right.
And of course, it conjures up a lot of old fears, wherever we get them from our childhood or whatever. And so, quite honestly, as soon as it brought out the 4-year-old little boy in me, and I just literally said in my head, love you, Grandma, see you soon. Like, you need to leave, like now. And as soon as I said that, boom, it was like nothing happened. Like the temperature difference went back to room temperature. So there was no more cold, and the weight disappeared. It was all immediate. It wasn't gradual or anything. And I woke up completely out of breath, covered in sweat. My wife, who never sleeps
Wait, you woke up. So are you saying it was a dream then? You were dreaming this?
No, I didn't wake up. I got up. I was sitting up, in a sense. Remember, I shared earlier that I was laying there with my eyes closed. I wasn't asleep.
Okay, so when you said
I was
wake
conscious.
Up, got it. Okay.
Yep, I was still very conscious. So as soon as all that stuff went away, of course, I'm up and I have my eyes awake, like trying to get my senses of the room, like what the hell just happened,
right?
And trying to analyze everything. And my wife is cutting logs, which never happens. And I'm like, you need to wait, trying to wake her up and, trying to explain to her somebody's here, like a spirit.
Right.
He was like, how the hell do you know that? And I was I don't know. You need to get a hold of Voodoo Chick. Like I'm almost to the point of, panicking almost like, oh my God, I'm being attacked. But yet there was something about it that I knew that it was Grandma, right? There was still that undercurrent of, hey, it's so freaky that it's something so new and freaky that it's going to jolt you awake, but yet there's an undercurrent or a flavor, an after effort, if you will, flavor of, hey, we're not here to hurt you.
Right.
But at the same time, there was the urgency of get your shit together,
right?
In a sense, without being said. And so really, that was my awakening, we'll call it. And that, going back several years and, almost 10 years. And so that really jumpstart my journey of trying to figure out, okay, what did that mean? So I have that experience. Why me?
Right. So
Why now? Why not earlier?
did you ever figure that out? Do you know why you or
Well, yeah, and you know, and really because what it did is it led me down several other paths to embrace my gifts as a medium. And because spirit really knew, the universe and spirit really knew, to get my quote unquote shit together, it was going to take a few years, because guess what? I'm going to have to figure out what mediumship meant for Dean. It's going to take a while for Dean to embrace just the word medium, you know, and I made fun of it for a while. Ooh, am I going to give readings in my basement? Or,
right?
you know, and I jokingly, and what, you know, somebody in the universe was going, yeah, and Ubers and in tour boats and
Right.
anywhere that you're asked to give readings, you will give a reading. And I didn't realize that at the time. And so it
So
was really
you
a
think it's almost
series
like
of doors.
it's almost like a service then, in the sense of the
Absolutely.
universe saying, I need someone to
Absolutely it
go
was.
out and send this out into the world.
Oh, absolutely. And if you think about it, put it in the aspect of being a soldier, right?
Yeah.
Do you go right from, you don't go right from the street into serving as a soldier. You go through your basic training aspect, right? Or training of some type, whether
Right.
it's basic training or whatever. So in a sense, I went through this boot camp period and really trying to figure out what this all meant for me, how this was going to look like for my life. And you got to remember, here I am. Once I started embracing mediumship, took a class in it, all that great stuff. Here I am serving Monday through Friday, 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year as a soldier.
Right.
Dean the soldier by day, Dean the medium by night,
Right.
right? And if anybody from Marvel Comics is listening, you know, well, let's talk. But I'm
yeah.
kidding. But at the same time, and in a sense, I was living two lives. And it was really kind of difficult because
Were
I
you
was worrying on
telling
one.
the soldiers? Did they your fellow?
You know, I told some in the beginning. I was really careful because I didn't want to be that guy, but I was
Right.
close. Like I said, I'm in my last 3 years of military service. I'm kind of like the old guy, right? And start to get to that point. But right before I retired, I was like, screw it. What are they going to do? Bend my dog tags and make
Right.
me scrub shitters? I don't care.
Right.
But you know, early on in my development, I only told a close knit group of folks, like around the water cooler. And, you know, some people were very supportive and interested.
Right.
Other people are like, dude, you're screwed. Like you're, you're being possessed, or, you know, a lot
Right.
of different fears would conjure up from them. So it was a lot of mixed reactions, and it was really fascinating to go back and look at that.
How do you know when this is happening to you? I mean, I would be of two minds. I would be of the mind that I
Yeah.
think I would. I think I would be of the mind that, oh my God, this has been given to me, and I need to figure out what I'm going to do with it. And the other part of me would be like, I probably should go get an MRI. I don't know if this is dementia. I don't know if I'm starting to crack up. I mean, was the experience of it so clear that it was clear to you this wasn't like a mental fog, or this wasn't some kind of brain problem, that it was just like, look, this is as real as as the coffee table? I mean, why did you not explore the medical angle?
Right. Well, that's a really great question, because it's actually been brought up a lot with clients since, you know, myself going into this. But great question. You know, it was like a knowing. I think in the beginning, though, there was some inner dialogue, if you will, trying to self-analyze or give myself a diagnostic, even though I don't have a background in any of that. But
Right.
I think it's normal to go, oh my God, am I having a latent, you know, was there a latent TBI there? Was there some PTSD that I, you know, that I'm dealing with? A psychosis of something? I don't know, you know, and here I'm thinking I'm a very well-adjusted, you know, soldier getting ready to into my latter years. And so, yeah, there was some internal dialogue, but nothing medical. But I have had a lot of people question that, like clients sense.
Right.
And and I want to add this, and I think it's something that's very important, Dave, is if somebody feels that they need to get checked out, please do it, because I'm not a doctor. And so what I did was right for me, not what was right for somebody else. And there could be something there. I'm not saying there is, but and there was a lot of support around me. If it wasn't for my wife,
Well, she was
I
a
wouldn't be
believer, which
doing
was
this.
great. I mean, maybe that was one of the reasons you were picked, is like you at least had some support, right? Because she was in the voodoo,
Oh.
and all that stuff with Voodoo Chick, so she was
Oh,
already
right, right. Well, and I want to preface this by saying that psychic, it does not do voodoo, but
right.
that was my words at the time. But yeah, if it wasn't for my wife, I wouldn't be a medium today.
Got
I,
it.
I really wouldn't, point blank,
I got to
because
ask you. Oh, go ahead.
because my wife is always has been and always continues to be a huge supporter of what I do, and knew, because she's super uber intuitive, she does energy work as well, that I was supposed to be doing this. And she's like, you're not supposed to be, because I was going to go work for the VA after the military. She's like, you're not supposed to be doing that. You're supposed to be doing this. And I'm like, you're crazy. You don't know what you're. She was like, and yeah, so it was really kind of funny. Sometimes we laugh, and then she gives me the look of "I told you so" look, right?
Right.
That wives are so great at doing, but
So I have to. And I'm not. I don't want to bring anything
No.
up that's sensitive, but I have to ask this. So when you were in the military,
yeah,
in places like Afghanistan and Somalia and
Yeah.
whatnot, I assume you saw some rough stuff. Is that
Yeah.
correct or not so
yeah,
correct?
yeah. And I want to correct you. I wasn't in Somalia,
I thought you said
but I
Somalia,
was in
sorry.
Afghanistan. Yep.
What was the
But
other
that's
place?
all right.
Bosnia?
It was
Oh, right.
in Bosnia
Kosovo
and
was the place
yep.
that was the coffee, but not a big deal.
Yep, and some other countries, but
Okay.
here's the thing: is do you unfortunately see some stuff that isn't so nice? Absolutely. I
Yeah.
guess I'll use that umbrella term. Was I aware of my abilities at that time? No, but I want to give you one quick story, because when I look back, a lot of people ask all the time, were you aware of it as a kid? No. Not that I remember.
Right.
Were you aware of it prior to your awakening? Maybe. And here's why I share this: is there was one instance that I still remember. It was in Afghanistan, and I got to paint the picture for you.
Yeah.
So we were in kind of the eastern sector of Afghanistan, right by Pakistan, and in the border, or the mountainous border area. And one of our missions was to do up armored Humvee, called mounted patrols, right? And you think this is back in 2003, so we're going back a couple years.
Okay.
And so it was early equipment, so very kind of, it's not a lot of up armor stuff. But one of the early pieces of equipment was a IED, pieces of equipment to help defeat the IEDs.
Like
And it was
detectors,
very, yeah, it was more electronics, right?
Okay.
To create electronic bubble, right? A jammer, basically. And it was very hush hush, because they were doing testing, is what it was, before they I think it was Raytheon came out, or one of the countries or companies came out with the actual patent.
Okay.
And they said, just turn it on and just leave it go. And so the reason that I bring this up is we were out that night in a mounted convoy, and we stopped. And one of the rules is that we never stop unless it's an emergency. So, of course, the first thing I hear, and it was just the driver, me, and the gunner. And I heard from right behind me, or like within me, it was like, move the vehicles up another 500 meters. And so I got on the radio, and I was like trying to get a hold of the lead vehicle to move up a ways.
Were you worried they would say why? I mean, how were you going to? I mean, wouldn't that be a weird request? Like, hey, it's
not really,
okay.
Because it was kind of out of the norm that we were stopped anyways.
Okay.
And it was just very odd, in the middle of the night, almost like in a choke area. You think of it, it was just out of the norm, right?
Okay.
And I thought, well, somebody had some bad judgment, and let's just move it up a little bit. Not a big deal. And I couldn't get a hold of anybody, which is really odd. Right. And so I heard the voice again, hey, move the vehicles up another 500 meters. And so it was more and more urgency. So this voice continually came back, like, you need to move the vehicles up another 500 meters. So I'm sprinting forward of the line of all the vehicles
Oh,
to
you
get up.
got out. Okay.
I got out of the vehicle and I'm sprinting forward with all the body armor, all the ammo, all that
Really?
great stuff. And back in the day when I was in better shape, and but getting up there and going, hey, what's going on? We need to move the vehicles up another 500 meters because the vehicles back here are in a choke point. We need to move it up.
Right.
And just when we were about to, get everybody going, me and the patrol leader actually heard an audible sound that we still today believe that it was a remote detonation device going off. And we still believe that if it wasn't for that IED, that early that bubble kit, I call it,
Right.
that electronic jamming info, we wouldn't be here today, right? And so we're very thankful for that. But I go back to the equipment's great, love it, but going back to where did that voice come from? And
But
even
wait,
today,
I'm still confused. Why did you need to move the vehicles up though? Because
okay, so you think about it in a tactical situation, right? Is if you put say if you have a half a dozen vehicles, put distance between those. So think of them going down the highway or wherever. Put 2 or 3, a couple hundred meters behind or between each vehicle. Now you got it stretching, not a quarter mile, but now you got a convoy of vehicles that are going not super fast, and they're stretched out in a long column, right?
Right.
What happens when you got terrain that starts what they call creating a choke point or high ridges or ravines, or it's perfect area for ambush. And that's
right, but that didn't happen. You're saying the voice though was saying, "Look, I don't know if an ambush is
trying
going
to
to
keep us safe.
but this is not a good
us
place."
safe.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it was trying to, hey, dummies, move your vehicles up because there's an IED here.
Got it.
That's
okay.
what it was trying to say. But
So-
it was just simply move your vehicles up another 500 meters, which would have gave the last vehicle clearance
Right.
from that space. And
So do you think
but
being-
since we stopped there.
Do you think being, and that makes sense. I appreciate the clarification.
Yes, absolutely.
What I was wondering about when you saw some rough things in your deployments, what was more of a question of a lot of people, the way they view life is, it's very clean. It's very, you don't look at the body as a shell to the spirit. You're just like, you don't even think about it. You go through your day, you don't really think about it unless you're confronted with it. And I'm wondering is the nature of being confronted with it may have in a helpful way put you in a mindset to sort of perceive things a little different when it comes to spirit and death and life and things like that versus like my frequency of seeing that kind of stuff is incredibly rare, but if you're seeing it a lot, I don't know, maybe it doesn't resonate with you. It's interesting that somebody around that is now able to connect.
I don't think I think people are some people. I don't want to put everybody in the same category because that's not fair.
Okay.
Some people are it's easier for them to compartmentalize some traumatic events or things that are not pretty, but it's part of the job. So whether you think it's a soldier or a policeman or fireman, whatever, because you're going to see stuff that is not nice.
Right.
And it's like, but how do you deal with it? And the more often that you have to see it, like, are you just going to lose your shit basically? Or how do you deal with life and death, and whether you come close to death or whether dealing with death in itself? And I think at the same time, there's so much other stuff going on and so much confusion. You almost don't think about it until after the fact. And then it's still like the brain is trying to process it. It was for me, and I can only speak from personal experience.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to try to explain somebody else's experience because then I would get it wrong. But the thing that I would share is that for me, I was able to compartmentalize it, and I guess it, in a sense, I guess it was a little bit of a numbing effect. That, yeah, did I have to deal with it when I came home? Sure, I did. But I don't think that, becoming a medium, becoming a medium gave me more affinity and appreciation for life through other people's experiences, and
Right.
also in the conduit in which to deliver that, and being in the same, place and being part of that experience with them. As far as example, somebody losing a mom and dad losing their child, very traumatic, but I'm a parent too. So then after delivering the message, which I try to keep very neutral, right? Keep that separate from my personal life. Then, but then afterwards, I'm able to reflect and go, holy shit, I can't even fathom what that's like.
Right.
And then it makes me appreciate life even more, and maybe I hug my kids more.
Right. Right.
Or the fact that maybe a daughter, her dad, and this is a real true story, for her dad passed when she was very, very young. And he never, quite honestly, he was kind of an ass to her. And he never told her that he was proud of her or loved her. And it wasn't until that he passed that he came through to make amends. And so I never want, so when I looked at my daughter and be like, you know what, if I never tell you again that I love you or that I'm proud of you, just know that I am.
Oh, okay.
And so, those are things sometimes we need a check or a reminder, right? And I'm like, wow, I can learn just as much and from these readings, and I'm like, wow, it just makes me appreciate life even more.
I'm wondering, when you say that, has it changed the way that you deal with your relationship with death? Like, I don't know if you're religious, like, were you always going, well, look, when you die, you go to heaven anyway. I'm not worried about that. Or were
Right.
you going, I don't know what happens after this. And now maybe
Right.
there's more of a sense of peace, because even though you may not know everything, you know that death is not the end.
Well, I'll tell you this, and it's kind of it's multi-layered, but here's what I'll share is that I was brought up very traditional. I was brought up in a Protestant household. Went to, just like, traditional Lutherans, whatever. And regardless, in the Christian upbringing, we went to church I was encouraged to go to church every Sunday. And, Christmas, all the holidays, all that great stuff. There was some point in my upbringing that I felt a disconnect with what was being taught. I don't disagree with it, but I think that there are some things that just aren't quite right. And it may be interpretation or whatever, but I don't, regardless of what religion, I love them all. And here's the thing that I would share is, since becoming a medium, I have a deeper appreciation not only for the faith, and I guess growing up, I did have a belief that there was something bigger than us, like if you think of God, but kind of it was like a re-understanding of everything when I had my awakening, because I started having these experiences that brought up this new found internal truth, like, well, how can this be true if I'm experiencing this?
Right. Right.
And be
Right.
like, and then it brought me to, like, a lot of times my head would like explode, and figuratively. And so then I had to unlearn a lot of things, going, well, I was always taught this as a kid, but now I believe this. And so, for the fact of, hey, my belief is that we all go to heaven. And unless you so choose for your reality not to. And really, because it's all a creator user, in a sense. It's, if you think of, because I know you're a gamer, you think of that user created world. And so if you feel that you're not worthy to go to heaven, now you create a void or a hell, and whatever that is for you.
Do
right?
the spirits that talk to you, your grandmother, and all the spirit sense, the dad of this girl, are they in heaven, or are they in the void, or
Absolutely.
they can be...
No, I make a point that I only communicate with those that are in heaven. There was a point early on in my my learning, I'll call it, in the early years, that I communicated with some spirits that were not crossed over. I really, like, sat down and chatted and really I don't know.
Okay,
It was
go.
really-
Wait, before, how does that work? So at first, what started as a voice in your head, and you got pushed on the
Yeah.
bed and all that. Are you now able? Is it almost like you've gotten a better amplification system? I mean,
Oh
you're
yeah, now
having
it's just like,
conversations now. Or?
yeah. So what happened was a progression. So it started off, the whole experience, the awakening, but then all of a sudden it was like I started getting messages, but I didn't know how to access them. Once I was able to access them,
What do
I
you
was
mean you were
like,
getting? What do you mean you were getting messages, but you didn't know how to
it
access?
quite honestly, there was, you think of the old school answering machines like from
Yep.
the 80s, beep, there was like a beeping. That's what was like on my shoulder. And I couldn't, I didn't know like where the hell are the buttons? Like, how do I ask?
So
And it
you
was,
knew what you knew was what? You knew something was there.
I knew that I had messages
Okay.
from spirit, but I didn't
Okay.
know how to access them.
Okay.
And then it was all of a sudden, then it took a switch in a sense, and I don't know how it switched, but then all of a sudden I started getting information. And what I mean by information is, say I was connecting to, all of a sudden I would see a spirit in my mind's eye, and I would just, and it was like flooded, literally flooded. If you think of chopping off the end of a fire hydrant, right? And just being sprayed with information. And then all of a sudden, then the flow of information would just stop. And I'd be like, whoa, what the hell's going on? Like, I could barely keep up. And it was like, oh my God, I'm getting so much. And then all of a sudden it would stop. So that was a lot of my frustration in the beginning. Either I wasn't getting any, I couldn't get it, or I was getting so much and then it would stop. And I was like, how do I control this flow? And like, it was really frustrating. And so then I took a course in mediumship. And my mentor at the time, showed me how to control the flow and different ways to come at information. And then I just really, for a year, to be quite honest with you, David, is I practiced giving readings, and that's what I did for a full year. Of course, obviously, I'm still very much a soldier during the day,
Right.
but that's really when I said Dean the soldier by day and Dean the medium by night. I was giving readings in my spare time between family stuff. My daughter was in dance recitals and just like any other family. So I was doing all that, and I was, so I had a lot of irons in the fire.
Did you notice
And-
your skills getting better? Like your first
Yeah,
readings,
obviously, right?
You knew
So
something
just-
was there, and by the end of
Yeah.
it was like, wow.
Well,
I know
and it
what this
was
is.
and it was self-evident too, because it started. What was interesting is you start with family and friends, right? And it was like, okay, who am I going to give a reading to? Who do I know? And then so family and friends, and then next thing you know, my phone starts ringing. Be like, who is this? And be like, oh, you don't know me, but I'm a friend of a friend of a friend. And people just word of mouth started telling, hey, Dean's a medium and blah, blah, blah. And he's not charging anything. And at the time,
Right.
And it was, people just showed up. And it
So
was
can
like,
you turn it on and off? I mean, because
Well-
right now most of your promotion is
Yeah.
like you reach out to military families, right?
well, that's the video that you saw, and I'm gonna preface that. So that video was designed for actually a television series that was supposed to be like a docu-series on the military medium. And of course, we would focus mainly on military families. But no, in the 10 or so years that I've been doing this, has it been all military family? Absolutely not. Do I help
Okay.
everybody in between? Absolutely. Now, what's up with the military medium? It's because I spent 24 years in the
Oh
military.
no, I thought it was
And it's-
really cool.
no.
I mean, I thought
Right,
I,
right.
you know,
And I know the video. Yeah. And really, when the TV series or the thing didn't take off, I was like, hey, can I just get the little video?
Right.
So, and I was like, you guys did a great job with the video. I love it. And
How far back have
so,
you gone with a soldier? Like, what's the farthest spirit? Like Civil War before? I
Yeah.
mean, what's
Ooh, that's a great. Nobody's asked me that question. So I did. Actually, we talked. We chatted a little bit with George Washington, and it was interesting because originally it was the preface is to talk about to world leaders. So like past presidents or world influencers, wherever, right? And that are deceased. And I'm trying to think now, like soldiers that I've talked. So Washington would have been one.
Right.
Um, you know,
What?
it's
Okay. Wait.
interesting.
What is that like? George Washington. Does he
You know,
know?
well,
He's
you know,
George Washington. Like I'm
yeah, he's
goddamn
George
George
Washington.
Washington. I
But
mean,
here's what I'm gonna say, David. At first in my mind, I was like, "This is stupid." That's what I said in my mind at first, because I'm that kind of guy.
yeah.
And I said, "How the hell am I gonna validate? There's nobody outside of me." It's like, am I gonna go to George Washington's great 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 grandchild and go, your grandfather's stepping forward, and like, who's around that's alive that can validate the information that I'm getting?
Right. Right.
And I was like, you know what, Dean, you need to shut the hell up and get out of your own damn way and trust that the information that you're getting is true and factual, and then write that shit down. And guess what? Leave it in a book somewhere and see if it makes sense.
Right. Right.
And that's what I did. And it was really more guidance, or this was way years before Trump and all that. But I want to say is that it was really kind of interesting. It was more for me. It was like, hey, what do you think about the state of affairs today?
Yeah, I would.
And it was very, you know, he was very stately, but yet he was still kind of a really nice guy. But in the same sense that when I connected to him, I got a very, what I would, anybody that's ever been in the military, especially the Army, is a very like polished soldier. So somebody that is very officer-esque, and so kind of held himself in that regard. Like, hey, you're going to know that I'm an officer type deal. But at the same time, he still, the premise of him was really good in a sense.
Did he have a voice like if I were to say, what did he sound like? Oh, his voice was low pitched, or it wasn't like a literal voice.
You know, I don't really recall like
Okay.
if there was a certain pitch or not, because I don't focus on that. And I know the next question, or somebody's out there going, well, how can you connect to world leaders? If somebody was saying, you know, you're connecting to maybe a world leader from Germany or wherever,
Right.
and maybe they don't speak English. How do you do that? And the cool thing is the spirit world is all bilingual. It doesn't matter
Right.
their language. It's, you know, whatever their native tongue is, when they're in spirit, in a sense, I do have to listen a bit closer because they may have a thick accent.
Okay.
And maybe they want me to go, like, for example, I'll say one was, and this wasn't a world leader, but it was somebody's grandma was coming forward one time, and she was very Polish. She was from the old World War II era.
Right.
And I was like, God, there's like, is it German? And it was like, but it was like, no. And then it was like, oh my God, she's Polish. And I don't have a Polish background. Like, how
Right.
the hell
How would
know
you
that?
know?
But they impress that upon you, the medium, and saying, and she was like, oh my God, that's my grandmother, and, you know, or great great grandmother, you know, whatever. And so it was very kind of interesting, just some of the information that comes forward, and just how spirit impresses upon you the information that they want to come forward.
Okay, so people like me who've never really had, I mean, I've had a couple of weird experiences, but
Right.
I'm certainly not a medium. I don't commune with spirits as much
Okay.
as I would like to.
Yeah.
But I think most people have a view of spirit or ghost or whatever, I guess spirit's the more proper word, but
Right.
as, you know, they're ethereal and they're mysterious and they're
Yeah.
not entirely there, and they don't, I mean, but in your experience, is it just more like a long distance phone call with somebody who's like they're like, dude, I'm just this guy and I happen to be able
Yeah.
to talk to you, but I'm just still me. I mean, what
Yeah.
do you, is the romanticizing of spirit gone now because you're like, dude,
No.
it's just like talking to somebody?
Well, you know, in a sense, because when I first started, it was more ceremonial, and that's how I was taught. But then the more you do it, you think about when you first learn how to drive a car, right? It's very methodical. You get in, you're taught to adjust the mirrors and everything. You get everything now you just jump in, and you might even be buckling the seatbelt as you're backing up.
Right.
Who knows, right?
Right.
You break it, maybe. I'm not saying, I don't want to say breaking rules, but at the same time, you get a little bit more fluid. And so, yeah, but does it lose I don't want to say it loses the romance of it, but some
Maybe that, I don't mean
nostalgia.
the positive part of it. I mean the
Yeah.
idea that it's so cinematic and
Yeah.
weird and different to us that
It's like me talking to you.
right. That's what I'm wondering.
It's like,
Okay.
yeah, what do you want? Like, hey, how's
So
it
are they
going?
around
Like,
all the time? Are they around you right
that's
now?
my belief, and that's what I've come to understand is that they're always around. And I want to challenge you on something because
Yeah.
earlier you said you're not a medium, right? Here's my belief. This is Dean's belief. It may go against what a lot of people believe, but I believe we're all mediums. We're all intuitives. We're all healers. We all have this ability, but I want to use the analogy of baseball. Okay. You go back in grade school or whatever, we all probably played baseball at least once in our life. But then you went on to decide how you want to play baseball after that. Do you want to bring it on to high school? Do you
Right.
want to
Right.
take it
Right.
to college? Do you want to play in the majors? What do you want to do with it, right? And that's the same with energy work, whether you're a reader, whether you're a healer, whatever. And we all have this ability within us, just like everybody can play baseball, whether you suck at it or not,
Right.
whether you want to get better at it. And that's the thing with, if you listen to a lot of mediums that have been around, like James Van Prague and John Edwards and all these guys, they've been around for decades, been doing this for a long, long time. The one thing people have asked them in interviews, how do you get better? What's your one suggestion to people up and come? Practice, continue doing readings, do the work, because that's the thing. You can't just remember and I know that you have a big interest in the paranormal, right?
Yeah.
And especially the paranormal hunters, right? And all that shows. Remember the big boom, maybe going back about 5 years in paranormal shows?
Oh yeah.
The same with mediums on TV, right?
Right.
The interest just exploded. Networks were crazy for them, right? And nothing against the folks that are out there doing great, legitimate work. Here's the thing that I would share is some people get into it just for the wrong intentions, I'll say. But then there's the people that want to really do the work. And if you're really doing the work, you're going to do the work on yourself, which means you're going to slog in the trenches, so to speak. And guess what? If you're a paranormal investigator, you're going to go do investigations. If you're a medium, guess what? You're going to go do a shitload of readings.
Right.
And then you continually hone your skills and continually learn. And, that's the thing. You got to do the work, and you're continually doing it.
Do they, someone in the chat, Christina is asking, do the spirits seek you out, or do you seek spirits out when you're with people in search with a long lost loved one? Like, how does that work?
So, great question. Love that. So in the beginning, they kind of sought me out. For example, my dad's mom, my grandma, Catherine, she passed when my dad was about 14. She died from breast cancer. So obviously I had never met her. And it wasn't until all of this started happening that I was meditating one day and actually I connected with her. And it was very emotional for me. Like, you would think meeting your grandmother for the first time, like, I mean, crying and oh my God and all this. And here I am sitting in my living room like, oh, what the hell's going on with me? But it was very moving. But she turned out to be a teacher for me because she was actually a teacher in real life. And I didn't know this until I told my mom. And so I found out a lot of things about her. And then obviously she helped in my development. Also, some other relatives came forward early on in my development, almost like an encouragement, saying like, oh, about time you got your shit together. How's it going?
Right.
You know, it's like,
Okay,
hey,
that's cool.
about the family. Yeah, but
do you have recurring visits like with certain spirits that are like, hey,
sometimes,
right? Okay,
like in a reminder, like sometimes like an aunt or somebody that I was very close with, if they like their memory comes up, and I know enough now that's saying, oh, are you trying to get my attention in a sense, like all of a sudden their picture will fall right in front of me and be like, oh, okay, I see your sign, I want to share though, because we're talking about my relatives. Will some spirits, like random spirits, seek me out? Absolutely. And that's one thing that has happened from the beginning and continues to do. As far as groups of spirits or individuals, sometimes like sometimes we'll have, like one time there was a girl that was standing on the top of our stairs in spirit, and
You
I was like,
saw her, or in your mind's
oh yeah,
eye?
I saw her
Physically.
and I was like,
wait, hang on. You with your eyes or with your mind's
with
eye?
my eyes, like so
Okay.
she's in spirit, and I'm by this time it's like, hey, how's it going? Like,
Okay,
people just show up, and I was like, oh, who's this? And so then, of course, usually it involves my wife, because it's usually a discussion, and then I was like, I can't even remember, but there was something about this, a local story about this girl drowning, and then there was another time, I think it was, there was an airliner that actually had crashed in the ocean.
Yeah.
And there was a shitload of people here at that time. I want to also go back to Sandy Hook. Do you remember?
God
during
damn.
this?
Yeah.
So,
you had an experience
yeah.
with the
So,
oh my God.
during the whole thing,
if you guys don't remember, Sandy Hook was that terrible school elementary shooting that happened, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, where it was like second graders, first graders, guy came in and it was heartbreaking.
He massacred students and teachers. And I was really, it was interesting because I was really trying to stay away from it on social media. It was everywhere, right? You couldn't get away from it.
Right.
And understandably so, it was a huge tragedy. But one of the things is that I just felt like I was grieving, and I was like, I get it. I'm a dad, I probably something, I'm trying to analyze it. And then all of a sudden, boom, I get this picture of a teacher in my head. It was a female. I didn't know it was a teacher at first. And I was like, okay, what do you want? I'm kind of forward with spirits. Like,
right.
And she was like, I died in, at Sandy Hook.
Oh my God.
Was down, and I was like, you do know that I'm in, the Midwest. I'm in North Dakota. You're down there. And saying, here's the deal. And so I really kind of laid it out.
Why did she come to you? What did she want?
And that's what I was curious. And because she felt so frantic that she wanted to let somebody know that the kids are okay. That's all she wanted to know, because she died saving kids.
Oh.
But what's really freaky is because I had never seen her picture ever on the news, nothing, anytime. And I actually had to look up like the faces of the victims.
Yeah.
And I saw it and I said, holy shit, that's her right there.
Do you know what her name was?
Oh God, I'm going to have to go back and look at it. But
yeah, I would love to see that.
But one of the things that I asked is I said, okay, why are you coming? Because out right now and try to be like, oh my God, so-and-so wants everybody to know that the kids are okay.
Oh, it's heartbreaking. But,
then I'll be labeled as the kook from North Dakota, because this is not the right time, right? Because quite honestly, they're thinking, hey, this medium just wants fanfare. And
well, yeah, what are you going to do? Call the parents of the kids and say,
right,
hey,
what do you do? Right. And so anyways, I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it back on you, because you guys are now in a space of all knowing.
Right.
And you can do more quite literally on the other side than I can. And if I'm supposed to deliver your message, I want you to put that in place. And so I really trust that it's after the fact. Maybe it's somebody listening to this program. Maybe it's one of the other ones that I mentioned. I don't know. But I trust that every time that her story pops up, and I will, when we get done here tonight, I will go back in and I will actually send you the name.
Oh, I would love
yeah,
that.
absolutely.
So let's do this. I have 3 real quick questions that I gotta ask, and then would you? If I want to kind of play with this a little bit. So if anybody watching wants to call in on the Discord and talk to Dean, this would be the time. But I gotta ask a couple things. So question number 1 is, have you found that your experience, I don't know, since you've gotten really good at this, have you had anyone in your life die? And if you have has that passing been much easier now? Because instead of like, it's a forever goodbye,
Right.
it's more like, okay, it's like somebody's going
Yeah.
to another country and I'll see him in
Right,
20 years or
right,
whatever.
Right. Yep. So great question, because actually here in July of this year, lost my dad. And so, but one of the things was I knew way back about a year ago that dad started getting sick, and I kind of turned to my wife after we had left, and I said, yeah, he won't be back to the house. And I said, when he went to the senior center and all this, and I knew that was the start of the end.
Okay.
And so some things I'm burdened, like it feels like a burden, because I knew that dad was dying. And of course, are we all dying?
Right.
So, but anyways,
But when
yes.
he passed, do you think it was an easier transition for
Oh,
you?
absolutely. It was way easier for everybody because in
Right.
a sense, it was just something that not only was I able to hold space for everybody else, but where for me personally, obviously I already knew like where he was going,
Right.
and like his state of being, right? And so, fortunately for dad, he passed fairly quick and very peacefully. And it was really crazy because I got to share the story of his passing, which is really kind of cool in a sense. There's kind of a beautiful story in it. So I was going back to my hometown, which is in northern Minnesota, because we knew that my dad was dying. And there was an altar light on the route for sale to my parents' home, and I knew this, and it was and I was fascinated by it. And I was getting actually close on the road to where this altar light was. And all of a sudden, about a mile before I got there, all of a sudden in my mind's eye, my dad came in. He was always whistling, right? And he was like, he looked at me and he always called me Charlie Brown.
Okay.
And he was like, hey, Charlie Brown. And I was like, what are you doing, Dad? Like, what are we talking for? And I was like, and he was like, I'm going to go flying. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, you're that close. And I was like, and then he said something that made zero sense to me. He was like, yeah, I get to go see my brother. And I'm like thinking,
wait,
oh my God. Like,
I get the,
because I didn't know my dad had a brother.
Right. But get me in the time window again. Are you saying this is after or when he was sick?
No. This is before
he's sick,
my
though.
dad physically passed.
Okay.
And I'm having this conversation on the road going to my parents' home. So I knew he was dying.
So as far as you knew, though, he was still alive at that time.
Right. Yep.
Okay,
he was still alive. Yeah. And technically he was.
Okay.
So let me get to the story. So, and basically, so we're having this conversation, my dad and I in my head. And he said, yep, I get to go flying. I get to meet my brother. And I was like, God, that makes no sense because I didn't know you had a brother. And I was like, oh shit, are you going to take that altar light? Because that's what he showed me. And I get up to where it was, and the thing was gone. And the thing just looked ratty, to be really honest. It was like a death trap. And I was like, oh shit. So I was actually looking in the sky to see if it was flying. But so I get home, and it was hours after I got home, they got the call he had passed. And I was like, I knew. And I was like, and I shared, after a while, of course, it was very sad. And we were all very, grieving. But I said, what's crazy? I said, driving here, I said, Dad talked to me in the car. And I said, he told me that he was going. And I said, and I looked at my mom and I said, you know what's so odd? He said he was going flying with his brother. And she said, oh my God. And I said, what? And she goes, his mom had he had a brother. And I was like, what do you mean? And she goes, he was stillborn. So, she carried him to term and all that. And it was something, of course, who talks about that kind of stuff? You just don't, but it was something that, over the years, my dad was into his 80s. But I was like, oh my God, I never knew that. And she said, well, you don't talk about those things. And And I was like, wow. And I said, but when he came to me, I knew, and it just felt so peaceful that he was like, yeah, I'm going flying. I get to, go see my brother.
That's pretty
And it
awesome.
was like, and it was just so freeing, right? And it was very moving. Of course, it's dad.
Right.
And, and I want to add this because somebody asked this of me saying, if somebody, a relative or a loved one of yours dies, does it make it any easier knowing, where they're going? And saying,
Right.
guess what? It still sucks because I'm still human. I'm still wearing the meat suit. I still experience the human emotions.
Right.
And it doesn't make it any easier. But the aspect of knowing where they're going
Right.
does. Because saying, well, at least I can take solace in knowing that they're going to heaven.
Has
that
he
they're
come
going
to
a
you
good
since?
place.
Has your dad visited with you since?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, hours after, yeah, showed me dragonfly. I mean, yeah, just crazy signs.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so.
So
he's-
last
he's-
two quick questions for you. Are they ever angry? Like, does somebody like who died in the middle? I saw this great
Right.
clip that you did on your show,
Right.
where it was the wife of this guy
Oh,
who had gone,
right.
and it was very moving and very emotional. And I know, I mean, I can't put myself in the shoes of a soldier, but
Right.
I would be angry about being cut down. So, I mean, I would be.
Well,
It's like,
Right.
what's the emotional
Right.
state of someone like
So,
that?
well, to be really honest, their emotional status is to be at the core emotion is love. Because because they're back to a spirit state.
Right.
And
right.
to be really honest, they're only emitting love. But when they come back to communicate, they need just enough evidential, like about maybe their type of personality or knowing what's going on or whatever. Yeah, they just go back to an energetic sense, but there's no like, oh my God, we need retribution.
Okay.
We need, so as far as like going now, have there been stories about spirit that has led investigators on to find out their killer and different things or lead them in a sense? There has been stories about that, and it's very factual, but it's not about in a retribution type deal. I've even worked some cases where these kids died in a horrific automobile accident, killed both boys. And one of the things that was like, there was a lot of crooked shit that happened in the case. But they just kept on saying the truth will be revealed. And that's all they said, because it wasn't about them coming back for retribution. They were more concerned about their mom and dad grieving. And all that kept the dad going was looking for retribution. He was still alive. And a lot of the information came out through investigating. It was really kind of sad, but it's crazy. No, have I encountered spirits like that, angry or whatever? No.
Okay. Do you ever ask them? I mean, have you ever just point blank said, "Hey, is there a God?"
No.
Why?
No, because it was in a sense a knowing, and then also it was more of interpretation.
Okay.
Because it was almost like they, if you will, gave me or connected me to that universal, I don't want to call it knowledge, but in a sense of, hey, let us let you feel what that is, what you call God. And not saying that it isn't God,
but that's that
it
love.
isn't
That's
Buddha
that love
or,
energy.
Yeah, and it's absolutely, if we were just sitting here talking, and if you think of that God energy, and you would just start crying, and you're not emotional, you're not super happy, you're not super sad, but it's just pure love. It's just, and
well, and
it's hard
I
to
think
describe.
it's there, right? I mean, you were saying you meditate. I mean, it's like, the phrase, I believe it's namaste, which is like, I bow to the divine within. I think when you see other people and you really get centered, there is something there. I don't know what it is, but maybe it's exactly what you're talking about, where I can have a conversation with you and go, like you said, there's the meat suit, there's all the shit we've had to
Right.
endure, there's the psyche, but underneath all of that, or maybe above all of that, is a sense of connection of just life and love. And I think that's amazing. That's amazing.
Well, and I think the other thing is too is that when we pass, we're going to get to the other side, that other
Right.
dimensional plane of existence, and go, ah, shit, we got it all wrong. So even though we try to put the best words that we can conjure and understand all the nuances, I think that we're still falling short to really accurately describe it.
Well, the fact that you can at least be with them and help others kind of come to peace is more than most. So it's pretty impressive and pretty incredible. So I would say, before I, see what the audience wants to know, and I want to ask some questions about just sort of practical. It's like when people tell military people, thank you for your service. And I've had military friends go, oh, I hate when people say that. but and I don't know why, but I would say thank you for your military service, but also thank you for this service, because I think you're doing, in both cases, it's important work, and it must be a pretty cool feeling. So here's my question. So are there spirits around you right now? Are there spirits around me?
They're always around.
I mean, can you get in touch with one for us right now?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, it's not like we have to sit there and like, well, let me see if I can connect to a certain phone number. So you want me to do a reading for you? Is that what you're?
Define what a reading is. I don't know.
So a reading is where I'm going to connect to a spirit on your behalf.
Oh yeah, are you kidding? I would love that. Okay, yes. Okay, let's do it.
So, David, it's really interesting is because one of the things that obviously you're, with your podcast and everything else, but you're also, and one of the things I didn't mention is I also work with a lot of archangels. Now, I know typically archangels, a lot of people go right to Catholicism, but there's about 7 main archangels that are found throughout all the world's religions. And I work with a lot of them. But one of the things I want to share is that a couple angels are pretty prevalent in your energy right now. First off is Archangel Gabriel. And Gabriel we know, came to the shepherds as they were sleeping, all that great stuff, is a messenger. It's all about people that have a message to convey, whether they're, folks on podcasts, radio shows, anything that have any type of message. The other piece is Archangel Michael. And Michael is, I jokingly refer to him as the Fabio of the archangels because he's always conveyed in books and pictures as very masculine, flowing hair, but he's always typically killing like Satan, right? And is all about protection. And that's the thing, is like knowing that he has your 6 or your back, right? And also, it's all about boundaries for you right now. That's what he's telling me. But I do want to connect to a male that's stepping forward right now. And the first thing that I smell associated with this man is cigar smoke. Is that I actually see stubby, looks like loose wrapped or leafed. So either they were either hand rolled or really high quality cigars, but they stunk to high heaven. And it's like, I guess the stinkier they are, the better they are. I don't know. I always want to give him shit though. And then it was almost like, almost kind of looks like a knowing, like, yeah, all right. Kind of like I get the vibe of like, you think back to Rocky, right? The little trainer dude. And it's like, come on, rock, right? And almost kind of that vibe. He gives kind of that gruff, kind of like knowing like, yeah, okay. I know better. But the interesting thing to me too, is that very, like, I almost call him like just very handy in a sense, because what's interesting is I smell pine and sawdust, and then I also go to like grease and machinery. So it's almost like he's very adept, whether working carpentry or like, shade tree mechanic in the garage, right? There's always a project to be working on. It's like, oh, like if you went over to his house, it's like, oh, Jesus Christ, what are you working on now? It's like, well, I got a little project back over here. It's
so
like,
he is stepping forward and saying he wants to connect with me.
Yep. So that's a male that I'm recognizing. So it's almost like we have a ton of folks around us. And sometimes it's just like a few folks are hey, I'm here to be recognized and validated, and then a message, right? So obviously it's always about love. They're always exuding that and support. But the other piece is that really sharing that he was never really one to give you a lot of accolades or really openly say, I'm really proud of you. And that's first and foremost, right? The other piece is talking about stepping it up a notch and where you really want to bring things to the next level, but falling short of resources or what I almost substance. It's almost like where you want to bring business up to, and it's like I'm falling short. There's something lacking, and he's saying that you got to have faith because he's saying come. It almost feels to me like the March-April time frame is what he's saying is when it's almost like somebody else is coming into the picture. So whether it's an investor or maybe business partner or whatever that is,
Right.
So stay open.
Okay.
That's where that other piece of the puzzle comes in to really help you amplify to do what you want to do. Does that make sense?
It does.
So,
are you able to say what is your name?
I don't always get names. Sometimes that randomly comes in.
Okay.
But
okay.
yeah, so
Excellent. Okay.
does that make sense?
It does. It does. It's very interesting. And I mean, certainly the minute you started talking about the male energy, even before you said the word cigar, I was like, oh, cigar, and like, boom, so absolutely. Let me. Sure. Is there anybody who wants to chat on the Discord or Zoom? Briefly, we've taken so much of your time, but it's so damn fascinating, and I just love that you shared it. Is there, some of the people in the chat are kind of saying they're nervous about it. I'm always just like, let me,
Sure.
let me experience it. But,
Sure.
okay. So we got one guy, okay. So do you want to call, I'm going to send you the Zoom link. Because I assume it's easier to do a read for you if you can see them, correct?
No, I don't need to see them. I just need their name, I can call them by a name. So,
would you like to see them or would you like to hear
no,
them?
I don't need to.
Okay.
If they're comfortable with being hidden, I don't need to see them.
Oh, okay. Well,
even a handle.
I have
whatever.
a handle. It's Muggin Dude.
Muggin. I'll call him Muggins.
Okay.
I don't know why, but okay. So one of the things for Mr. Muggins, okay, feels like I'm on a Harry Potter episode, but a couple things. So we're going to talk angels really quick. Again, got Archangel Michael stepping in for you, Muggins, and then Raphael. So Archangel Raphael is all about healing. Not only personally, because we're all dealing with stuff, right? But also about the innate healer within you. So whether you work in traditional Western medicine or something non-traditional, that could be counseling, acupuncturist, something like that, there is something big. There's a big connection there. So if you feel called to step into a role, just know that you're being guided. And it's just very natural for you, right? And remember, I talked about we're all healers. But it's just more natural for you because it's one of your abilities at the surface, so to speak. So, and then the other piece is Archangel Metatron. Now, Metatron is one of the less known angels, but Metatron typically shows up in readings when typically folks are having what I call very funky dreams. And sometimes that's very visceral or very real, like, oh my God, I was really connecting with dad, or I felt grandma's hug, or things like that in sleep state. Now, sometimes they can be conscious awake. They can also, when people start having experiences of astral projecting, remote viewing, different phenomena such as that, I typically see Archangel Metatron coming in. So if you ever kind of feel like you're floaty or out of body, those things, just know that Archangel Metatron is helping with that. And it's not to be freaked out by, okay? And just make sure you're writing down those experiences because there's a literal ton of information being given to you as well. Okay, so I also want to talk about the female that's stepping forward on the mom's side of the family. Understand that she would have passed from pancreatic cancer. Understand also that she was, I want to say, between the ages of 72 and 75. One of the things, too, is that she resonates with the month of November specifically, it almost feels more like that was her birth month because I continually see in balloons. So typically balloons are representative of like a celebration, right? You think of the birthdays. I also want to talk about, it's interesting to me, and not that women can't serve, but she doesn't feel like she served in the military specifically, but it feels like a military connection with her. Now, it's almost like a ladies' auxiliary or something like that. There's a fraternal order that's connected to her because I clearly see an American flag behind her. And anytime I get that, I'm like, oh, that's a veteran connection. You serve the country in some capacity. And it's very so. And I also want to share is that she was extremely devout in her faith. One of the things that she tells me, it took great pride in being like almost like if you think of in charge of like little groups or whatever for her church and everything else, like making casseroles or whatever. So, and then the very interesting thing is very musically inclined as well. I almost hear around her is like accordion, believe it or not, because I was like, oh, what are you going to do? Are you going to be singing? And it's like, or, you know, dancing or whatever, playing piano, which would be understand. But I keep on hearing accordion, which is so interesting to me. So, but one of the first things she comes up to you and Muggins, and she just kind of caresses your cheek like that. And she's quite a bit shorter and heavy set, but just such a loving lady, just a permanent smile to her face. And the thing that she shares is that she really, number one, obviously this is going to sound like a broken record, but just how much she truly loves you. The thing that she does kind of comes behind you with this beautiful handmade quilt and puts it around your shoulders. Typically that means two things. One, that she was a quilter, and that's kind of like giving you a gift, but also that's her way of giving you a hug. And so just know that, you know, her quilts and everything just felt so cozy and homey. I'm also taken to the vision, and I don't know why, but very specific to her, is like crazy for doilies. Like if I'm standing in her home, I see doilies like just crazy all over the place, like under plants and under coasters and like everywhere. And it's like, oh my God, let's ease up on the doilies. And it was just her thing, right? The other thing that she talks about is going back, Muggins, to your family unit. So she keeps on talking about like your mom. That's what you're referencing, your mom, and talking about almost giving her a hug. Not in a sense, yes, that she love her in a sense, but almost where she needs extra support for some reason. There feels like where she feels, I don't want to say let down, but it feels like she needs to be lifted up. There's something there that's lacking, if that makes sense to you. So she shows me giving that extra support to her. So, and that could even be done by a phone call saying, Dean, I live in 5 states away. Simple phone call, a Zoom call, whatever. Sometimes that can feel the next best thing. But I hope that makes sense to you. So,
okay, can we do one final one? Is that cool?
We can.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
The name is, and I got it's so funny. It's like the floodgates. It takes one person to call, and it's like, oh fuck it, I'll do it.
Who is the brave one? Right?
That's right. But this is Christina, is who I would like you to give a reading to. And everyone else, I apologize, we can't get to y'all. Dean's given up so much of his time, but we are going to make sure you know how to get in touch with him after he goes off the street.
Absolutely. So Christine, I got a couple things. You got Christina. You saved the best, or wow, they're all great ones, but like the chatty Cathy's over here. Okay, so Christina, you got a lot of people coming in wanting to put in their 2 cents. I like the loud drunk lady in the back. She's kind of funny. We're going to talk about her in a minute. But so, you know, there's I call Christina's the angel lady. I'll call her. You know, different people resonate with angels differently. Some people like, yeah, they're okay, and but for Christina, you might believe or connect to angels a little deeper than other people, because when I connected the angels, it was like legions. If you think of legions of armies of angels behind you, and they were just showing up and validating that your connection goes deeper. And that's really just saying, yeah, we got you. And so it's not one specifically. You got, quite honestly, a shitload behind you. So that's cool to know. The other thing is knowing, it's almost like needing to know that you're protected and the angels are protecting you. And you almost feel like you need that many around you at all times. So make sure you're setting good boundaries at work and with life. Goes without saying. So let's talk about spirits. So on the mom side of the family, I do get, interesting enough, a male that steps forward. Understand that he would have passed mid-30s, it actually feels like, and it almost feels to me like he passed in an automobile accident. One of the things that I understand, actually a really good looking guy, kind of a smart ass. And then one of the things that I also get is that he was kind of more like, I want to call him like an old soul, because everybody would have gave him shit for like almost doing things like being in his 30s or mid 30s. He would have been more into things like people that were in their 70s were into. So, and be like, Jesus Christ, it's like, give him like, hey, grandpa, they would give him a hard time like that. The other thing that I almost feel is like his passing was connected to the fall time of the year. There was a little crisp, but it feels more wet to me. And then, but interesting enough, it feels directly related to the other driver. Like, feels like a lot of other, weather and other stuff, but this feels directly connected to the other driver. And it was just one of those shitty type deals, but unfortunately. The other piece is that there is something. We're going to come back to that, because there's something that I'm supposed to know, because it feels like he didn't die right away. And this is important. It feels like where I can feel some stuff on my face or whatever, but some injuries. But it's almost like I'm looking at something, and I almost want to say it's a card, but it's almost like air freshener. And I want to say it's like a king, like you think of a playing card, but it's like more color to it, and it's like hanging from the rear. It's weird. And so anyways, it's almost like I'm staring at it, and it's just like I'm kind of numb. So very specific. And it feels like, he was alive for some time prior to passing. So he didn't die outright. I also want to talk about a male that steps forward on the dad's side of the family. And interesting enough, this gentleman would have passed, and it feels to me like in his early 20s. He actually committed suicide. This is, there was actually a gun involved in this gentleman's passing. And one of the things that I keep on getting is like right up here by my breastbone. It's like I almost can't breathe, right? And it's like, but the piece is that it's, I almost see like, I'm going to take a piece of paper because I feel really guided. And it's like taking a wristwatch off and rolling it in the wrist, in the, like maybe the note that he wrote, and like rolling in it. I don't know why. And it's really weird because he takes his watch. It's very symbolic. And so, but the thing is he ended up unfortunately taking his own life. There was a lot of, and I'll call them demons, but in a sense, there was a lot of stuff that he was trying to deal with that he couldn't get over from not only his past. There was a lot of troubled stuff, but sometimes too is when you're dealing with drugs and alcohol too, that can only exacerbate the issues that you're trying to deal with. And last but not least, a big energy steps forward on the dad's side of the family, female that steps forward. One of the things that I understand right away, she would have passed from heart-related issues, feels like a massive stroke. I can almost feel it like right on the left side. It was pretty sudden. And she was heavier set, whatever. I want to say that she was in, I want to say 53 keeps on jumping out at me. But so she would have been in her early to mid 50s. And she would have, back before it started graying, she would have had dark hair, glasses. And then I see her with more of like she's kind of in between. She wore like, I want to say like she would dress really nice, but a lot of times she would wear more of a house dress in a sense. And then the other thing that she keeps on telling, it's very specific, but she said her mother gave her a brooch, and I keep on getting, it's like, I don't want to say it's a black opal, but it's black in a sense, maybe onyx or whatever. I don't know stones very well. And then it's almost like star rays or whatever that comes out from it. So it looks very simple, but she talks about that is very, and of course they're all bringing forward tremendous amounts of love. And just the biggest thing is letting you know that they're okay. But I wanted to share, because I did mention earlier the loud, I think I said drunk lady, but it was that lady that I just connected to. If it was noisy in a bar, and she had the coolest laugh, like it was really loud. She didn't give a shit what anybody thought, but yet she was still very loving. She would put it in your face and tell it like it is. And what I would say in Dean's language, she would tell you where the bear shits in the woods. So, in the same, she would, but at the same time, she would give you a hug, but kick you in the ass with the other foot. So that type of tough love piece. So just a lot of love. And
she's saying in the chat, all this is very relevant. So I'm excited to hear.
Yeah. So just really giving you a tremendous amount of support and love. And she's saying, that she shows me a basket of chickens, and the old analogy, and I think we've all, saying, don't put the, the chicken before the hen or whatever the hell it is, but don't get ahead of yourself is basically what she's saying. She's saying slow the hell down, and she's saying it's referring to a guy. I don't know what's going on in the relationship aspect, but she's saying that you need to slow down a bit and really just let things unfold the way that they're supposed to. So, but if that makes sense to you, I hope it does.
She's saying it. She's saying it does, and I will definitely be making some calls to my family tonight and go, let's talk about the guy with the cigar. So, right. Dean, listen, it has been a joy. We've talked for a long time. I appreciate it. Here's so if people want to get in touch with you, I will absolutely put your link below this video. I'm going to recut this video, and I'm going to have it just be totally this interview as well, and I'll put the links there. Is there any other thing you want to mention to an audience? Because there's people now who are like, oh, I want to talk to him, give him this thing, give him this name. You're right.
That always happens.
So what is that the best way to just to go to your website?
Yeah, you can go. I'm most active on Facebook. You can really get a hold of me, military_medium on Twitter, on Facebook, the military medium. You can message me, whatever. But, if you're looking for a reading or whatever, go to my website, the military medium. The options are there. And then I've been doing, just to let everybody know, I'm just going to throw this out there, is I have been doing a COVID initiative since March, really, since all this crap really has hit hard. And for every reading that is purchased, I donate a reading to somebody that is military, law enforcement, first responder, medical, somebody that's on the front lines, right? And I've been doing that since we started. So for every reading that's purchased, I sit on my end and I pull out a gift certificate and I make it out, and then I basically have a stack of them, and then either I mail them and I've given out stacks to nurses, be like, hey, give up this out to your nurse friends and other folks. So, and of course I still have military friends and other folks that are connected. So police and all those folks. So, so please just know that when you're purchasing a reading, know that you're purchasing one for somebody else. And we just do it just to try to spread good in the world. But so.
Excellent. All right. Well, we will link this. I will send you an email when this goes up or over on Facebook. FYI, your Twitter handle, it's locked. Your account is locked.
Really?
So, yeah. So if you go to @military_medium, your face shows up, but then it says this. It's like you've locked it and made it private. So I don't know if anyone can get in that way. But
All right,
Facebook that's how I got in touch with them. And Facebook's a great way to do it.
I'll go unlock it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe the spirits are angry. They're like, hey.
And maybe.
There you go.
Yeah, Dean, you need to get your shit together.
Dean, if I don't talk to you before, it's been great. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Have
David.
a great Halloween. Have a great holiday
Same
season.
to you.
I will. I love the holidays. Love it.
I do too.
All right. Be safe. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, fellas. So that was Dean, who is the rest of the day. That went longer than I thought, but I hope Dean didn't mind. I hope you guys didn't mind. I'm going to edit it all together. Let me give you my thoughts on how that went, though, real quick, and then I'll tell you what we're doing. Let me just get my camera back up. Video. I'm glad we got the Zoom going, though, because now when I'm bringing on game-relevant people, I want to definitely bring on some people to... I'm not really great at keeping interviews quick. I don't have any experience with that. And so I want to get better at that if we're going to start bringing on, game people and stuff. So anyway, so I don't know. I mean, look, here's what I can tell you about that particular situation. I absolutely think that Dean is on the up and up and that he feels what he feels is true. I don't think that he is a charlatan. I don't think that he is making shit up. I don't know whether or not he is unintentionally doing stream of consciousness and he's just like, doing that, or if he literally is communing with the other side. But it's interesting. Mupo, thank you as always for the banana, sir. I appreciate it. Let me ask you guys, Christina and Muggin both had readings. How close were your readings from Dean? Did they feel like, holy cow, that was pretty powerful? So Muggin says he got stuff wrong about my grandma. Did he get anything right? So he got a lot wrong about your grandma. What about, did he get anything correct? Muggin's gram sounds like your grandmother. Yeah, maybe he was picking up on yours. I don't know. Just the American stuff is what he got right, Muggin. Okay. What about you, Christina? How close was it for you? He seemed to have a lot of stuff for you. Your Gramps was in World War II. Okay. I'm loving the interviews. Definitely a different cup of tea compared to the usual stuff, says Random. Yeah, I mean, we'll play with the interview format. I don't plan on doing them every show at all, but like once every couple of weeks. And I'll start making them more game-centric. Obviously, this is Halloween specific, so we wanted to kind of focus on that. But now that we've got it all set up, I would love to bring on, we're going to bring on the guy who made Pumpkin Jack pretty soon, and I'm going to talk to some Sony folks. Christopher says, Jaffe, he was talking about the Angels. Does he know Stiltskin? Kidding. That was awesome. Thanks for putting it together. Christopher, thank you for the super chat, and thank you for watching. I appreciate it, sir. Very kind, very generous. Thanks, man. You open your mind, something comes through, even if it's 1%. I believe there's a lot of science to cover. So, Official, you believe that it's not just sort of stream of consciousness. You believe that he is picking up on something, even if it is hard to get your head around what that is. Christina is saying that it felt powerful. He got things right about picking up on someone being killed by a drunk driver. The background people he was referencing make sense to me too. Okay. Interesting. The George Washington bit, says Dane, made him do a double take. Right. I mean, interesting stuff. I appreciated his time, and I will link below, once we're done doing it live, I will link to his website so people can get in touch with Dean. Really nice guy, really cool dude. So please reach out if you are in the headspace to explore that part of life and death. Okay. Listen to me. Here's what's going on. We're going to take a little break. We're going to come back. Here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking about some crazy yard haunts that are really gory. There's one that happened recently that was so gory that it caused people to call the police. And I want to show you that. I want to talk about that. We are going to talk about fear as it relates to Halloween. We're going to talk about a man who was buried alive, and I'm going to show you video of this. Well, he wasn't buried alive. You'll see what I'm talking about. There's a lot of good Halloween freaky stuff. Some of it's debunky, some of it's real. Let me just give you a really quick image of what you're going to be coming back to after the break. 1, 2, 3, boom, there you go. That's all I'll tell you. So here's the deal. We're coming back in 6. I'm going to leave you with a Trey Trimble joint. He has put this together for us. Oh, and then after the Halloween talk, we are going to play we're going to play Puppet Combo's new game called Murder House. So we got a whole little deal planned. It's the Gabbin' Games Halloween special. I appreciate you being here. I will see you right on the other side.
gonna find that nightmares do come true. We will find you. Treat or treat. This night, you're gonna find that people live in graves. We're living dead.
The head of Xbox himself, Phil Spencer, leapt from rooftop to rooftop, pushing his neon green sports car to the limit. He had won the Twisted Metal competition, and thus he was coming to claim any prize his heart desired.
I won, Calypso, and as my prize, I demand you make Xbox the winner of the console wars.
Ah, my dear Philip, your wish is granted. Phil had gotten his wish. Xbox had won the console war. But since console wars are not actually real, and are only something that 11-year-old children and stunted man-babies care about, in order to fulfill Phil's wish, I had to create a console war. And so I did. The bloody battle raged for 6 years, with countries battling countries, executives battling executives, and gamers taking up arms against one another. It was glorious. And in that great war, the last war ever fought on Earth, the mighty PlayStation nation was soundly defeated.
You get the logo right there? You can see that. Yeah, so the sun is... Alright, dude, he's gonna run over. He's gonna run over with this car. Yes. What the fuck? Go. Oh, you missed! Oh my... Oh shit, he got it!
But all wars come at a cost, and all wars eventually end. This one was no different. When it was over, everyone on the planet was dead. Except for Phil, of course. I had to make sure he survived so he could claim his prize. And there he sits still, all alone. The winner, the king of the console wars. And exactly as promised, Xbox had won. But since everyone was dead, No new games could be created. Halo, it seems, would never be finished. And since all the GameStops and digital online stores had been destroyed in the battle, there was no way to buy or download a game. And thus, all Phil has to play is what was already installed on his Xbox when the war began. Crackdown 3. Oh my. The poor bastard's stuck playing Crackdown 3 forever. Oh well, at least it now runs at 60 frames per second. I am Calypso, and I welcome you to the Gabbin' Games Halloween special.
Little stunt for the contouring. Tinted brush. This is what I like to call it because it has shorter bristles here, so it's better for work it. Fabulous! And we're gonna move over to our mascara, which is our final touch, and I like to use and yeah, we're gonna just get started on our mascara. And I love to start at the base and then move my way inside. So we're gonna just start here.
Well, there you go. There's our opening. Welcome to the Gabbin' Games Halloween special. Let's get started. Let us begin. Let me close this crazy screen. And a big thanks to Mel McMurran, the voice of Sweet Tooth. That's not incredibly correct. The voice of Calypso. He generously came in and recreated that character for us, for which I'm very grateful. He also did a couple of other goodies for us that we will share over the course of the next couple of weeks. So anyhow, happy Halloween, motherfuckers. It's good to see you. We are going to kick off the conversation. Well, we've already been talking for an hour and a half, but that was talking to good Sir Dean. Now I can welcome everybody in the proper way. Uncle Fuzznuts, Muggin' Dude, Retro, Joe, Random, Totally Sick of Onions, Eddie Torres, Zanmoff, all of you motherfuckers. It's good to be here. Good to see you. Let us begin talking about the greatest holiday of all time. We're going to start by looking at some Halloween decorations. This is, oh yes, Stabbin' and Games. That's DK Octorok over there, baby. Listen. This is a haunt. And this is in Texas. And this is a guy who had the cops called on him a couple of different times. And they said, we're worried about this shit. The neighbors are worried about this shit. Turns out, though, it's just a home haunt. It's one of the greatest, goriest home haunts I've ever fucking seen. I don't even know if this... I mean, this looks like a fucking real fucking murder scene. I don't even know at this point, you know, if you've got kids in the neighborhood, is it just like, sorry, man, that's I freedom of speech. It's my fucking property. I can do whatever the fuck I want. I mean, this is some gory fucking shit. I love it. I fucking love it. But I don't know, man. I don't know if I had small kids if I would want this. And there's the cop showing up. Apparently the cops said, the cops thought this was great. They're like, look, we have to show up. We get called 3 times a week for this fucking house. But just so you know, we think this is pretty fucking cool. And it is pretty fucking cool. But I don't know, man. Mupo, thank you for the banana. You know I appreciate it. There's the guy right there. I guess he's a local artist. I appreciate the banana, sir. I appreciate the super chat. But look at that. That's some good stuff. That's some next level yard haunting. Now, I don't think what I'm about to show you is as good, but it is still pretty goddamn impressive for a local haunt. One moment. Of course, I was a moron. I went out, I petted my dog, and now I got the allergies. A reminder, if you want to call in, the Discord is open. Okay, now look at this one. This one's pretty good too. This is I saw this. This is somebody on TikTok put this up. At first I didn't know what I was looking at. I knew it was from It. But they literally put a dude down in the fucking sewers. That's pretty goddamn impressive. They were like, we're not just going to do Georgie and the balloon. We're fucking putting the goddamn Pennywise down in the sewers. That was a pretty good one. I don't think it's as good as the other one, though. Captain Gibbons, you missed the medium. You did, but I will be putting up an edited video of that very, very soon, and we will be able to watch it at your leisure. Now, I want to show you something. I want to show you something that is those first 2 things obviously are just fun. I want to show you this. Now, you might already have seen this. Do you know what you're looking at? That's Rob the Mod. Rob the Mod, I hope Rob the Mod is safe. He's in the middle of hurricane country right now, and I have not seen him online. I hope he's doing well. Do you know what you're looking at? Of course, I know that you know it's Charles Manson. But do you know what makes this picture special? Do you know there are people who will not look this picture in the eyes? They will look at the picture, but they will not look at the eyes of Charles Manson. Do you know why? Do you know what the reason is? I'll give you a moment. Let me give you a bit of a hint. The artist who painted this painted it with his own blood. Not Charles Manson's blood, but he painted it, this is a painting made of the blood of the artist, right? That's not what makes the eyes special, but at least puts you in the ballpark of what's fucking weird about this. You can find this at the Zach Baggins Haunted Museum in Vegas, which we were going to go to the last time we were out there, and my son, who loves this stuff, was too young. You have to be 16. So the next time we get out there, we're absolutely going. So here's what makes the eyes really creepy and special. The eyes are actually painted with the ash of Charles Manson's cremated body. So basically, you've got yourself literally the remains of Charles Manson embedded into the painting, into his eyes. So, you know, there's that going for you. I don't know if somebody when we had Bartlett Jones, we had all kinds of haunted and weird relics. Now, I don't know if somebody would have come to me and said, hey, would you like this painting in your office of Charles Manson, where the eyes of Charles Manson are the ashes of the guy? You know, on one hand, I'd say, oh, we have to have it. We have to fucking have it. But at the same time, I don't really know. I know Nick, who I was business partners with, when we first moved into Bartlett Jones, I was like, look, man, let's 7 the fuck out of this office. Let's make it gory and let's make it disturbing. And he finally says, look, that's cool and I like that, but do you really think people are going to want to come work here if it feels like they're stepping onto the set of the David Fincher Classic 7? And I says, Nicholas, that's why you're the producer and I'm the designer. You got a good point, sir. So we kind of tamped it down. How did the artist get the ashes? No. Zach Baggins got the ashes from people who were at the cremation. This man has a very successful museum out in Las Vegas, and he makes a lot of money. He also makes a lot of money because he's on a TV show. And so he spends a lot of money. Somebody in the chat saying, it was Captain Gibbon saying, why is there an age restriction for this museum? It's because it's not just like, oh, look at the Dybbuk box. This is supposed to be a haunted box, you know, from the old country, and if you touch it and blah, blah, blah. There's a bunch of that stuff, right? But there is also a room where they have paintings and accoutrement of really bad shit that went down in real life. Like they have Jack Kevorkian's murder van where he used to take people and help them commit suicide. That is there. They have a picture of Chris Farley lying dead that the paramedic who came to help him took after he realized he was dead. He took a Polaroid of Chris Farley. They have Jeffrey Dahmer's glasses. They absolutely do. So it's I think it's because the age restriction is, it's like, this isn't like haha funny ghost. This isn't like, you know, Casper or something. This is some, you know, whether it's haunted or just disturbing, we don't want like 8-year-olds coming. So that's the reason basically. But it's cool, man. I mean, this shit's, you know, I love this shit. I find it fascinating. It's disrespectful, but it's fascinating. And to that point, I just want to talk about this briefly. I don't know if any of you guys were on the stream yesterday when we did the interview with Adam Caesar, who is the author of Clown in the Cornfield and a bunch of other books. Maximilio, well, how am I saying your name? Max Emiliano. Thanks so much for the follow on the YouTube, sir. I very much appreciate it. Now listen, Christina, I would too. I want to go see this stuff. Absolutely. But he wrote this horror book. He's written like 10 horror books. He writes comics. Total great writer, good guy. But we were talking about his book, and this is spoilers. If you're going to ever read Clown in the Cornfield, which is a great book, you probably want to turn down your audio for a few minutes. But basically, it starts as a slasher, which is fun, like Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, blah, blah, blah. And it evolves into, it goes from fun horror to real horror. Right. And it never have I had that difference painted for me, because this is an article that talks about sort of why people like being scared at Halloween and what it takes to scare someone. But there really are two kinds of fear. There's kind of thrill ride fun fear. And when I read Clown in the Cornfield, it made me realize, because I had them butted up against each other, there's kind of thrill ride fun fear. And it turns out there is also disturbing, gut-wrenching fear. And halfway through that book, it becomes, in essence, a school shooting book. It's not literally that, but it's pretty much a whole description of these high school kids that are being slaughtered all at the same time by firearms and whatnot. And the way it's written, you'd think you're reading about what it was like to be in Columbine or what it was like to be in Sandy Hook when this guy was going around and shooting people. And to watch your brain go from, oh, this is fun. This is a fun romp. This is a fun, you know, crazy supernatural slasher dressed as a clown. I'm in. This is great. And suddenly it twists and you are going, this is sickening. This is ripped from the headlines. It was really interesting to me because obviously everybody's talking about Halloween right now and fear and scary movies. And I used to think, oh, I love all things horror. I really don't. I love the fun horror. I love the horror that is Michael and Freddy, and it's joyous, it's silly. But when you actually start making horror movies that really disturb the fuck out of you, I appreciate them, but I don't necessarily want to spend a lot of time watching them. So I just wanted to share that because I thought, and if you haven't watched that conversation, that's going to be up for people to watch later on in the week. Now listen to me. I want to show you a video. I'm going to show you a video. Right. MD Official says good horror feels like a party. That's right. That's right. And bad horror, not bad horror. It's still good horror. It's well made, but disturbing horror it makes you depressed. It's like it hangs on you like just like a film for days. If it's a really good story, you don't really want to be part of it, but it's still incredibly compelling. So this happened in India this week. This is a guy who's 74 years old. I don't even know Trey. Trey saw movies and torture porn. I would still say is kind of thrill ride horror because it's so over the top that you can't really imagine it ever happening. It's not like when they do something awful to the body is what it is. It's things that you know are happening several times a year, and that shit's real. Have I heard of Makami Manor? We're going to be looking at some footage from Makami Manor in a little bit, Random Moose Brains. Speaking of, that Makami Manor used to be, I think it's a sign, that place used to be about 2 exits up the freeway from me here in San Diego, and they forced him to move. And he moved to Alabama, which is where I grew up. So I think it's some kind of sign going, Jaffe, you got to go do Makami Manor. If you don't know, Makami Manor is one of the most intense haunted houses that exist. I'm going to show you some footage from it. You've probably seen some of it, but it's pretty fucking cool. But this is from India. A guy 74 is sick. He dies. The relatives, I guess maybe they're out far away. I don't fucking know. But they called for a freezer box to be delivered that they were going to put the body in and keep it, from rotting long enough that the priest could get there and perform the last rites. So they keep this guy in the freezer for 20 hours. I'm going to show you a video of this. This is the guy in the fucking freezer. And I want you to take a real nice close look at this. One moment. So this is them going in here. Okay. Now watch this. That's the freezer right there. That's the body in the freezer, obviously. Now look at this. That motherfucker's not dead. That motherfucker's been in that freezer for 20 hours. And they say, I'll pause it for a minute, and they say, I'll play it, it's not over yet. And they asked the family, because the cops came and said, what the fuck are you doing? And they said, we thought he was dead. It's like he was moving. And they said, well, we just thought his spirit hadn't left his body. And because of that, that's why we wanted the priest to come. And he's like, oh my God. So here's what happened. So they thought he was dead here. They just thought that was his spirit that couldn't escape the confines of his physical corpse. Fine. Yeah. Whatever. And now they take him out of this fucking thing. And even at this point, they're saying he is still dead. He says he's just got, like here, you can see his fucking hand is moving. Right? Look at that. His hand is moving. And he says, why is his hand moving? And he says, it's death spasms. It's not till they get to the hospital that they're like, no, he's alive, you fucking morons. He turns out he dies a couple days later. So he's dead. Did the rigid temperature change kill him, Uncle Fuzznuts? Yeah, it ultimately took his life. He probably would have been fucking fine if they wouldn't have put him in the freezer. They're I don't know if they're going to jail or not, but they are absolutely dealing with the cops, and they may end up getting arrested for it. Now, listen to me. Listen to me. Saturday night is the double feature, the very first Gabbin' & Games movie nights. Halloween night. We're going to start about 6 o'clock. I'll get you the details later. We're going to do it over on Twitch. You got to have Amazon Prime and a Twitch account. The Twitch account is free. Amazon Prime is not. But I took a poll of all the members, and everybody said we want to do the Amazon one. This is for members that are Cult of Calypso and up. So might be a good time to think about jumping up to that second tier. We don't know. Okay, so Retro says it was there for 3 days and he didn't die. Well, they said 20 hours, so I don't know. India's weird. Oh, wait. A man and his wife went to a hill to bury their baby, says Retro Queen. Found a baby buried in a box where they were going to bury their own baby, and the baby they found was still alive. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird that in this day and age, we still can't determine all over the world where somebody's dead. But listen, we're going to watch this movie. I don't know what the second movie's going to watch. We got to figure out what pairs well with this one. But I sent out a poll. Not a lot of people answered. A lot of people said, yeah, Jaffe, I'm coming to the movie night, but I don't fucking know. But this is the one that won. I think it looks great. Let me show you a trailer. We still have to figure out movie number 2. This is a horror trailer, obviously. We are going to be watching this on Saturday evening. This is a movie. Let me get this going on here. This is called Train to Busan. Check it out.
아직까지 남의 안은 열려 있다니까. 우리 그냥 이것들 달고 부산으로 갑시다 바로. 슈팅 몇 호칸? 터널 끝나면 들어간다. 당신들 말이야. 지금 무슨 일이 벌어지고 있는지 몰라? 우리 열차는 더 이상 부산으로 운행할 수가 없게 됐습니다.
I've not seen it. People tell me it's really fucking good. So that will be the first movie we watch on Saturday night. And we will watch a different kind of motion picture. Oh, I love that. It's Zombies Plus Speed, says Official. Excellent. It might be on Netflix. I don't know. Hello, Samson. Good to see you as always, sir. But I know that the way we're going to do it so it's legal is we're going to watch it on, I'm going to stream it on Twitch. And to members who want to watch it with us Saturday night, there you go. That'll be the first movie, and we'll figure out what movie number 2 is going to be coming up. Now, Andrew says, Jaffe, we spoke briefly on Twitter about COVID and how I work at the crematorium. When's the next time you're having stream call-ins? I'm always having stream call-ins, and if you want to call in today especially, that seems to be a pretty good conversation given that we're on the Halloween special. So if you want to put yourself into the Discord call-in show, I will drag you on to a conversation. Okay, so there you go. We're watching that this coming Saturday night. Now, a lot of stuff we have is just because, you know, here's the reason it gets harder. Let me give you the Discord 1 second. One of the reasons it gets more difficult, we used to do a Halloween in April. And at first I was like, oh, I'm going to do a Halloween in every month because I love Halloween so much. And what ends up becoming a challenge, let me invite you real quick. Hang on 1 sec. What ends up becoming a challenge, though, is the fact that, frankly, as much as I love this stuff, it is so easily now debunkable that, here you go, Andrew, that should be the Discord, that it kind of fucks shit up for you. So there was a movie that you guys may have seen about the Edinburgh poltergeist. It was like these two girls and
maps which showed a similar shape.
There were these two girls in England, the Enfield poltergeist. They made a movie. I want to say The Conjuring 2 was the film that they shot based on this particular ghost, right? And for a long time, they would show you this photograph of this girl kind of flying off the bed. And they were like, look, this is one of the pictures that people can't debunk. And I just want to show you, this is a video that's about 1.5 minutes long. It's basically them debunking the fuck out of it. And in one way, it's so disappointing because just like with Dean today on the call, I am so willing and ready and excited to believe in this stuff, but I need to see a little bit more proof. This is the debunking of the Enfield poltergeist. Let me just show you this really quickly.
The Enfield poltergeist. The image of an 11-year-old girl being flung from her bed by unseen hands. The Enfield poltergeist. The image of an 11-year-old girl being flung from her bed by unseen hands fascinated and horrified all who followed the Enfield hauntings in the late 70s, and the series of photographs and audio recordings taken during the paranormal investigations have been enough to convince legions of believers. However, put into context with the rest of the photographs of this particular incident, it does look rather more like a girl simply jumping out of her bed. The investigations were carried out by members of the Society for Psychical Research, and they were convinced of the house's haunted status.
ridiculous.
Unfortunately, the problem with getting paranormal investigators to verify hauntings is that they already believe in ghosts, so they are swayed in that particular direction. Janet was also prone to speaking with a demon's voice, but it has been noted from recordings that the seemingly gruff poltergeist seemed to have the vocabulary and mannerisms of an 11-year-old girl. Not to mention the fact that the pair of sisters generally smirked their way through interviews regarding the hauntings, and Janet was at one point caught bending spoons and practicing levitation by jumping on her bed. Despite all of this frankly damning behaviour, the case is still considered by many to be one of the most convincing hauntings in history. But what do you think? And that's our list. What
I think is, like Onion says, dumb. What I think is, it's really frustrating and disappointing because it's like, God damn it, you know? I mean, maybe it's just like religion. Maybe the only difference is I am okay saying I don't really believe in a lot of religion. I think it's good for some people. It brings a lot of comfort to some people. I appreciate the value of that. But I don't believe the specifics of the stories. And in this, and I don't want to, I don't feel the need to believe in that stuff. In this, I'd love to believe in this stuff because this is better. This is like, oh shit, we die and we get to see people we love and what happens next. And this adventure is just getting started. So you want to believe it. But I just, every time I try to say, let's do a spooky, scary Halloween stream, everything that you think is pretty creepy and terrifying ends up not being that. Except, what's funny about it? This is a this is not. I'm just going to play this in the background. This is a video of a head of a serial killer they called the Dusseldorf Vampire, and oh yeah, I will in a second, Retro. But but they absolutely can be debunked. I know which ones you're talking about. And anyway, this is a guy who was a serial killer back in the late 1800s. He was born in the 1800s. He got his head cut off because he was caught in 1931. And what made him so notable, I mean, he killed 70 people. He killed kids. He killed women. He cut people's heads off, hit him in the back of the head with axes and shit. What made him really notable was that when their victims were dying, he would drink their blood. So as it says, the text says, the detail that he enjoyed drinking the blood from the gurgling wounds of his victims earned him the name the Dusseldorf Vampire. So when they cut off the man's head, when he was executed, they said, let's do an autopsy. Let's study this guy's brain. Let's figure out somebody that deviant, that disturbed, we must be able to find something in the brain that is indicative of someone that would do such things. You can go and see this man's mummified head. This is not a cast. This is not a death mask. This is his actual face and hair. You can see the hairs come out of his head. That has been mummified, and it's on display. The brain is obviously not there. Now, the scariest part about this, though, to me, is not what he did. Obviously, what he did was horrific and awful and terrible. But it's when they took the guy's brain out of his goddamn skull, and they autopsied it, and they studied it. Now again, it was a different time. Maybe today, with today's tech, they could know more. They basically said, this is a normal brain. They said there's nothing about this brain that would make anybody think he was any more or less special than anybody else. Which really kind of goes to show you, when it comes to the real horror, you can't, it's just, it's us, obviously. I mean, that's nothing dramatic I'm saying. We all know that, but you don't even have to have a fucked up brain to be this way. It's just, maybe we're all this way, and we're all just like an inch from being pushed into the darkness, and this is what we would be. I don't know, man. Maybe that says more about me to admit that, but I think there's some real truth to that, because that's pretty fucking creepy, man. Why did they do this? Why did they do what, sir? I don't quite understand what you're saying. I agree, Zan Moff. It is awesome. It is cool. Now I want to show you one more thing, and as soon as this video is over, we are going to talk to Andrew, who works at a crematorium, and he's got a lot to say about COVID. You guys may have seen this. I had never seen this before. When you sign into the Discord, Joe, there's like a 4-minute waiting period. By the way, who was it? Was it Retro saying, look at the pictures that can't be debunked? Every one of those pictures in the video I just watched was debunked. So is there a specific one you want me to look up? I'll show you the debunking of it, because I know exactly what you're talking about. The one that I always thought, okay, that can't be debunked, was there like a little girl in a field and there was apparently like a spaceman behind her. And the guy's like, he's like, look, all it is, in fact, here, I'll just show it to you. All it is, I won't even tell you. I'll just show you. I'll let him, he tells it better than I do. It's like a 30-second clip. Where is that? This, I think this, yeah, the Solway Spaceman, okay? No, Solway Spaceman is not real, Eddie. So here you go. This is what Eddie's talking about. Watch this clip. Watch the clip.
Man. This photograph, taken in 1964, appears to show some kind of helmeted spaceman or astronaut popping out from behind this little girl. Is this some kind of time slip? Perhaps even an alien visitor? Man had barely begun its journey to the stars in '64, yet this guy has the distinct look of an Apollo astronaut. It's actually more likely to be the little girl's dear old mum. With the horizon leveled out and the exposure knocked back, you practically can't unsee a dark-haired person with their back to the camera. The angle of the arm is also odd for a forward-facing figure and much more suited to a figure with its...
So look at that. When you actually have it explained what that is and they expose it,
the angle of...
they add to the exposure, it's totally a mom with her back to the camera and her arm on her hip. You can't see anything else.
Back, you practically can't unsee a dark-haired person with their back to the camera. The angle of the arm is also odd for a forward-facing figure and much more suited to a figure with its back to us. The photographer insists that he didn't see anyone there at the time, and he's probably telling the truth, as the viewfinder on the camera he was using would cut about 30% of the final image, creating a blind spot. Number 6.
So, you know, it is what it is. I'd love to believe it. I really fucking would love to believe it, but so far I haven't seen. I'm like Han Solo. I haven't seen anything that makes me think the Force is real. But it sucks, man. I'd like to see it. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk to Andrew in just a second, but I want to show you this video first. You may have heard of this guy. Darren Brown. I've never heard of this guy, but this was fascinating to me. Victorian era spirit cabinets. You would go to these shows back in the 1800s and they would basically say, I'm a medium and I'm going to bring ghost out for you to experience. I'm going to show you this right now. It's not very long, but it's worth taking a look at. This is Darren Brown and a Victorian era spirit cabinet. And it doesn't go where you think it's going to go.
Some years later, he died in a car crash. Now, since that incident 30 years ago, there have been over 40 reports of paranormal phenomena, hauntings and sightings and so on in this building. Now, that may be no more than just coincidence and imagination. Whatever you believe, it's a little disconcerting to be here in the building where these guys lived and died. And as we do this also, I would ask you at home to really make the decision to involve yourself in tonight's experiments. There will be a number on the screen that you can call, and please do call if any strange things happen at home that you want to tell us about. Please do call. All right, so one particularly theatrical item that grew out of the Victorian seance period is the spirit cabinet. That's what this is here. All right, you can see it's fairly simple. The medium would be tied up and restrained inside the cabinet. The curtain would be closed all around. And then bizarre paranormal phenomena would occur inside the cabinet, supposedly outside of the medium's control. For example, a tambourine would move and jangle around, or spirit writing would appear on paper, supposedly from the spirits themselves. And of course, skeptics suggested there was some kind of trickery involved, and very possibly there was. So I'm going to try something tonight that hasn't been done before, and also shouldn't really be done, and that's to put essentially a member of the public in there, rather than me going in there or a medium going in there. Okay, so I'd like to try this, I think, maybe first of all with you, if I can. Is that all right? Would you want to just come around for me and come and stand here? Excellent, thank you. It's Jess, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. You see, when you sit in that cabinet and the curtain closes, your state can absolutely just change in an instant. It's very interesting. Would you take a seat for me just there? Excellent. Thanks for doing this, by the way. Okay. Yeah, look at me. Yeah, I'm very happy for you now to do this yourself. Look at my hand. And you can just start to get yourself into a nice, relaxed, sort of like a trancey medium state that they used to go into, so that the spirits can just play. Excellent. Very nice. You put your hand there, and your hand there, and your feet flat on the floor. Very good. Going to move these around you, closing the curtains on all sides. I want you to remain in the state. Just tell me, did you move the tambourine then?
No.
Did you touch anything?
Mm-mm.
Did you even move?
No.
No. Be absolutely honest. Come back to me first of all. Just open your eyes. Just come back to me. Come back to me. Good, thank you. All right. Did you touch the tambourine?
No.
No. Did you throw it out the curtain just then?
No.
No. Sure?
Yeah.
Okay, come out for a second. Would you absolutely swear blind that you did not touch that tambourine?
I'm positive, yeah.
All right. Did you move at all?
No.
No. All right. Excellent, thank you.
Well, where's it gone?
It's over there at the moment. You heard it? Did you hear it move?
I heard noise.
You heard noise, but you didn't touch it?
No.
All right. Let me just show you first of all. There's a CCTV camera up there.
Okay.
We were actually filming that from above. I want to demonstrate something to you here and show you exactly what did just happen in the spirit cabinet. Follow me up here. You need to turn so you can see this. Do I need to rewind this?
So, do you want to see what happens? Are you guys interested in this, or is like, no, Jaffe, nobody wants to watch this shit? Because you're gonna get proof. You're gonna get, but this doesn't go where you think it's gonna go. Should I keep playing it? All right, keep playing it. All right, fair enough. Okay.
It's rewound. Okay. Just stand here for me. Okay. Now, first of all, that is you, yes?
Yes.
Not an actress. We've got dressed in the same clothes. That is you, yes?
No, that's me.
Put your hand there. Putting your hands on your legs. And your feet flat on the floor. You definitely didn't touch the tambourine?
I didn't touch it.
All right, okay.
I didn't do that. I didn't do that.
That's you, yes?
Yeah.
Did you pick it up and throw it out?
No. I swear to God, I didn't do that. I didn't do that.
How does that feel then, watching that?
Confusing.
But that is definitely you?
Uh-huh.
Yes?
Yeah. But I didn't. Honestly, I didn't touch it.
All right, have a seat for a second. It is weird and it is unsettling. It's unsettling because your mind can play this trick on you and make you do things that you've got no awareness of. This is what used to happen in many Victorian seances. The medium would produce phenomena which were fraudulent. But she herself wasn't really a fraud because she had no memory of doing it, she had no awareness of doing it. She absolutely believed they were real. This is called unconscious fraud. And it explains a lot of these things that went on in Victorian seances. Thank you for doing that. I realise that's a bit freaky to see.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, do you want to go?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay,
How'd you
cool.
go?
Cool.
Excuse me. Thank you. Take a seat just there for me.
Okay.
In the spirit cabinet. So first of all, we're going to rule out the possibility of any trickery. I'm going to ask you to keep your eyes open. Right? You'll be able to see everything. And I'm also going to rule out the possibility of unconscious fraud by restraining you in the chair.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, no trickery. You keep your eyes open. No unconscious fraud. He can't move. Okay?
Yeah, just checking it's tight, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're just going to give him a few seconds. And did you just move the curtain?
No.
Did you all see that?
Absolutely.
Well, you can't because you can't move your
No,
hands and you
I-
can't kick that
I
high.
can't reach
all
it
right.
at all.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Okay, hang hang on. You've broken it. What happened?
I don't know. I just needed to get out. I don't feel right. That's really weird.
Talk me through it. You're shaking.
Yeah. I don't know. I was sat there.
Yeah.
You shut the curtain.
Yeah.
And I just freaked, man.
You all right?
Feel.
Yeah, no.
Feel.
Yeah, you should all have a feel.
Seriously.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah.
You broke the restraints. Those are tough luggage straps.
That was really, really weird. That built up. I just had to get out.
Okay. I'm going to take a break and I'll talk to you and make sure that you're okay.
Yeah, cheers.
All right? Okay, cheers. So there's a...
So, at first when I saw this, I was just like, what the fuck happened? What the total fuck happened? But let me show you what happens. So the guy, what I love about this is the guy is such a salesman. At first he's trying to debunk the fucking thing so you'll have some trust in him. And then afterwards he tries to show you one that is not debunked and you're supposed to believe it. But this is pretty easy to debunk. Watch this. Because I had to watch this like 3 or 4 times. So he's in the chair. Now, I'm going to believe that he didn't kick the thing. Fine. Fair enough. Watch.
Okay, no trickery. You keep your eyes open. Mm-hmm. No unconscious fraud.
But see this? There's somebody behind this fucking cabinet. There's somebody behind the cabinet. Because watch what happens. First, you'll see the kick, but then you'll actually see the person's hand throw the papers up.
You can't move. Okay?
Yeah, just checking it's tight. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
That guy's got to be in on the
So I'm
act.
just going to give him a
I
few
assume.
seconds. And
Right? So there
you
was
just move the
probably a
curtain?
guy back there with a stick that went like that and went poof, right? Okay, fine, whatever. Now
You don't
watch
see that?
this.
Well, you can't because you can't move your
No,
hands and you
I
can't kick that high.
can't reach
all right.
it at all.
Okay.
So I'm going to do it again. Watch right here. You'll see something fleshy there, which is a hand, basically.
Can't reach
All right.
it at all.
Okay.
Okay, it's gonna be right here. I don't know if you saw it, but there's somebody in there throwing shit up is what it is. So the reason I bring it up though is because it's disappointing. Like I said, I would love to get the shit scared out of me. I would love to get the shit scared out of me. I would love to just be like, holy shit, man. What the fuck is going on? But it's just, what are you going to do? We're going to bring in Andrew to the chat. Andrew works in a crematorium, and he's going to tell us all about what's been going on there. Andrew reached out when we were talking about COVID, and I was asking him, it's crazy that a lot of people don't believe what's happening with COVID. And he's like, dude, I got to tell you some stories. And I says, well, Andrew, you can call in, but it's got to be a good story. He says it is. Andrew, are you there? Can you hear me? And if you...
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear Andrew? Andrew, what's going on? You work in a crematorium. Is that correct?
Yes, I work at a crematorium. First, I would just want to say hi. I'm a major fan.
I appreciate that. It's nice to see you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it very much, sir. Now, listen, before we get to your specifics, crematorium, a body comes in, you put it in a cardboard box, and then it goes into the oven. I mean, what don't people know about it that they think they do? Like, what would be interesting to hear about your job?
Okay, so just like the basics of my job, I wasn't always a cremator. I was a removal technician. That's like the actual term, which is somebody that goes to houses or nursing homes, hospitals, and does the actual removal of the deceased.
Okay.
And so around the time COVID came around, I switched over to the crematory.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Whenever you were removing bodies, did anything ever weird happen? Did anything...
Oh, I have tons of stories I could tell you. I've been doing it for like 3 years, 4 years. So
are they stories more about like you got scared because the guy's arm moved, but it was rigor mortis setting in, or is it more supernaturals? Like what's the weirdest thing that you've experienced in that removal part of the job?
The weirdest thing for me that's ever happened is you come into a room, you expect somebody to be dead, and of course they are dead. Every time I've done a removal, they're dead, thankfully. But I actually, when in the process of removing the person, it was at a nursing home, they start to gurgle like they had fluid in their mouth or something, and then they let out a hard sigh, and that freaked me out the first time I ever heard that, because I looked at my partner, because sometimes you have a partner with you, sometimes you do it alone, and I was like, "Did you hear that?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's normal. They just do that." But I've never had something supernatural in terms of the dead body. I've had weird things happen in the funeral home, because you do removals all nights, all time of the day. So like I would be there at night, and I would close doors, and I swear to God, I would hear them like slam shut behind me as I'm like going through another door. And I know for a fact that I've closed those doors before, and it's just like very spooky. I think there's more spookiness in the crematory to this day. I hear, because it's like the crematory looks like a castle basically. It's very large, and it's a lot larger than the funeral homes that I've ever worked at. And so you hear a lot of footsteps, and I'm usually there by myself, especially after 4 p.m. So, and all the lights are off upstairs and stuff. And even though I'm downstairs in the basement, which is where the retorts are, which is a retort, for those that don't know, is where you put the remains in to get cremated. And so I would hear walking, like banging while I'm in the retort area. And thankfully I'm a huge horror fan, so I'm always like, oh, this is really cool and spooky. But
So wait,
I know that would freak out other people.
You actually hear this shit? I mean, that's amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing. You guys,
Yes.
do you ever record any of it or anything?
Yes, and I've actually because there's when you're processing remains, which is after they get cremated, you have to process the remains. I could go through in detail all of this, but this is just like story time, I guess. But we have like this box on top of where we process the remains, and within that box there's these cremation containers, which is like a temporary urn basically. And I was sitting near it, but far enough that there's no way that this box comes flying at my head, and it like somebody chucked it at my head, basically hit me on the head. And I wish I could get the recording, because there is a camera facing right at where that is, and it just went flying and hit me on my head.
So would you be able to take your camera in there one night and just record the footsteps or something?
Yeah, 100%. I could do that.
Okay, well,
I
you
can't
fucking
record like the actual retort area.
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
could
yeah.
record, like,
you need to do that, and you need to call us back with that footage, because I wouldn't have the fucking guts to do what you do. That is crazy. And you're there in the middle of the night by yourself?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I close up the crematory by myself. I have to walk around the whole building.
Let me ask you: Are you a single guy?
No, I have a girlfriend.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is, like, is that a play? Like, I can't fathom. On one hand, it's like if you told a woman, it's like, this is what I do, and she's like, I got to go see that. Like, have you ever taken a date there, like in the middle of the night, to be like, I got to show you this? I mean, that seems so like you'd have to do that. Is that something you do or no?
Well, I've been dating my girlfriend since high school, so
okay.
She's kind of used to it, but she would never step foot in there.
Really?
She's scared of all that. She wouldn't even drive with me in my work van, because we have a specific van to remove bodies in.
Oh my God.
She would not like want to sit in there. She hated the smell of it.
I
always said it didn't smell like anything, but.
Do you ever pull the bodies out and the family, like you go to someone's home and the family?
Yes,
and the family's
I used
there?
to do that. Yeah, that was the part of the removal technician.
Okay, and so is it hard? Like, they're like screaming and yelling and crying, or it's not that bad?
Yeah, to be honest, most of the time they act like nothing happened. They're totally calm. Some of them are even like, just get it out. I don't care. Just move on. Like, they're done with the body. Yeah, a lot of people. It's very rare that I've ever faced a family out of the 4 years that I've done it that were overly emotional.
Okay. Last question before we get to COVID. I have my cats and one of my dogs cremated. I have the box with the ashes. When I shake it, obviously it feels like sand, but there's also solid in there a little. It almost feels like little tiny seashells that are banging around. What is that? Is that bone? What is in the mix?
So when there's a couple things that could happen there. I don't cremate animals. I only cremate humans, but it's basically the same science. So a couple things can happen is that it solidifies, because when ashes stay in a closed container for a while, they get like almost like a rock. But
Okay.
what I would think is what happened there is that whenever you process remains, there's still little bits and pieces of bones that don't fully ever break down. They become like little pebbles, basically. And so that's probably what you're hearing is
Amazing. Okay, tell me about COVID, because you reached out when we were talking on Twitter about basically I was another one of my what the fuck, why are people acting like this is a hoax? And you said, dude, I have some stories. I work in a crematorium, so go.
Okay. So I think I could tell you two sides of the story. One is from when I used to do removals, and one is from when I did cremations.
Okay,
which is
good.
like,
All right, go.
so a little background. I work for one of the biggest funeral home companies in America. I think, if not the biggest. And I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't want people to track me down or whatever. But they own, in New Jersey, we own, I think, around 18 or 26 funeral homes, give or take. And we also own, well, we own in every state, but New York City is very close to us, so we kind of consider them part of us. So we own a lot in New York City. We actually own the most popular funeral home in New York City.
Okay.
And they do a lot of celebrities there, but that's besides the point. But so what they do is they have essential care, which is where the removal technicians work out of. So basically the funeral homes will call us and then we just dispatch out of there. So it's not like your traditional funeral home where you just call the funeral home and then the director will go out and do the removal. This company has specific people that do the removals and do the casketing and embalming, so that the directors only have to worry about arrangements, basically.
I have ADD. We're getting in the weeds, sir. I'm starting to glaze
Sorry.
over. Get to the meat. Not that I'm being a dick, but I have ADD. It's bad. So okay.
Yeah, I understand.
All right.
So at the beginning of COVID, things were, I want to say things sped up really quickly when it came to COVID. But at the beginning of COVID, they were just like, we don't know a lot about it, but you still got to go out there and do removals. And, that's very nerve wracking because, we don't know a lot, and we're going to people's houses, we're going to hospitals, we're going to nursing homes, and
right.
we have no equipment. We have no masks. All we have is gloves, and they actually start like telling us, we're running low on equipment here. We're running out of gloves. We're running out of body bags even. Because we always have to place bodies into body bags for sanitary reasons.
Okay.
So this is where things start to pick up, like from one week to another. Literally the next week, I talked to my dispatcher. I'm like, so should we wear masks? And he's like, yeah. 2 days later, he's like, before they told us only wear masks when you're going to a hospital. And I was like, okay. So they gave us some masks. They weren't N95. They were just regular face masks. And then like 2 days later, news starts picking up. Things start getting crazier. And he's like, you know what? I would actually wear them whenever you go out.
Okay.
Basically, wear them all the time.
Are the bodies still contagious if they die?
They are, but it's pretty hard to get it from the body that's passed because they need to basically
be breathing.
It's in the mucous membrane. So
it's somebody around them.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what happened?
We start to get like some knockoff N95s for us, and so we start wearing them all the time, thankfully. And things start to go crazy, like almost overnight. We're getting calls all the time. We're getting backed up. They tell us that we have to start working. We're going to be running 24 hours, like all the time.
God damn.
Where
is this? Is New York?
This is New Jersey and New York,
okay.
But we don't really do removals in New York. So things start getting crazy. And we become low on staff because we have like part-timers, which usually do the on-call shifts, which is like if something happens after hours, they'll go out. They don't want to work anymore. So they look to us and they tell us, basically, if we want to keep our job, we got to work these hours, which I understand they have to run a business. So I was like, okay. I live with my girlfriend. And so I told her, I'm like, things are getting a little crazy. I'm really worried about this. And at this point, she stopped going to work because her job closed down and I'm still going to work. So she was already in quarantine and I was still going out. And so
Okay.
I tried my best to keep her safe. And we start getting backed up to the point where we have no more refrigeration. We can't fit bodies in there. And usually we could fit around 18 bodies.
Okay.
So it comes to a point where our funeral home, which is our central care, we start having to leave bodies out of the refrigeration. So the
Oh,
whole
geez.
basement's covered. You can't walk in the basement. It's like a maze. You can't unload bodies anymore.
They're just in body bags at this point?
In body bags and in boxes for cremation, because we're not doing any more burials at this point.
Okay.
And if we are, they weren't really doing burials because families didn't want to pay for that, because it's a lot more expensive to get buried. And because they can't see the burial itself, they can't have a funeral. So they were just like, just do a direct cremation, basically, because that's a lot cheaper. So we were getting backed up in that sense. And we came to a point where we have no more body bags. People were stealing equipment from us as well, you know, for their families and stuff, of course. And so we are running low on gloves. They used to give us a box of gloves and said, keep it with you. And when you're done, you have to return the empty box to get more. And so it came to a point where we had over 500 bodies throughout the funeral home alone in that one location. I told you we had multiple locations, and we have no more refrigeration. And as you probably know, what happens to a body when it's left out? They start to decompose.
Oh my god.
So
Oh
the stench is terrible in the funeral home.
What does it smell like? I've always seen the movies where you go in and they see a dead body and they kind of recoil or they retch or whatever. But can you describe the smell? Because I've never known, and I don't ever want to know, but what is it?
It is one of the most foulest things you could ever smell, to be honest. I'm used to it, but when I first started, it's almost something that's quite like the movies. As soon as you smell it, you're gonna gag and you're gonna throw up, probably. It's that bad.
Does it smell, at least, can you equate it to, is it burnt rubber? I mean, what is it?
It's nothing like burnt rubber. It's very hard to equate it to anything because it's such a unique smell. If anything, I would say it's more like rotting fish, basically. But that, even then, it's nowhere as good as that.
Oh,
it's a lot worse. It's very, very bad.
Okay, so bodies are rotting. They're all over the floor. I'm assuming all of the different homes have this. You're saying you guys had 500, but all of them were like this, correct?
So, yeah. So what our company did was we had to get refrigeration units from trucks. So we actually rented trucks, and they brought these very large refrigeration units that they usually transport fish in or whatever. But we have them at each location, and the crematory had 5 refrigeration units, and the location I was at had 2. And we had to build within its shelves because we had no more space, and we needed to maximize space for this. So we built shelves, handmade carts, because we had no more carts to put like caskets on or anything, because everything was crazy. We had bodies on the floor, but in boxes, of course, but there was no room. And whenever we had to transport a body to the crematory, it would take hours to locate it because there was just that many bodies. And so each location was getting backed up. And then things never got better, and I moved to the crematory because I just felt like it would be a lot safer, and I got a pay bump as well, and because I didn't feel comfortable going into families' homes anymore because we didn't have masks to wear. We didn't have.
Let me stop you for a minute. Let me ask you a question. So when you describe this, I mean, you know, I was glued to the media like everybody else, especially March, April, May, when this was at its height. Although it sounds like we're about to enter another phase of it that's really bad. But a couple of questions. Were they all old for the most part, or that's not an accurate thing? People always say, oh, well, yeah, but they're a bunch of old people. I mean, I'm not making light of it, but a lot of people are like, well, you know, if you're going to die anyway, I mean, is that a true thing that most of these bodies were old people?
I mean, it depends on what you consider old. I don't really consider 50, 60 old, but there was a lot of that.
Okay.
There were a lot of younger people around their 30s as well. And we had a huge surge overnight, like I said. And it came to a point where we were just going out. Every time we came back, they just had more paperwork, just like go out, go out, go out, go out, go out. And we had no equipment. Like I said, it was scary as hell to do this. I had numerous amounts of anxiety attacks. I didn't want to go home. I always felt like I couldn't breathe. I was scared to give it to my girlfriend.
Sure.
And it was just terrible having to deal with families. And then we would go do removals and they'd be like, this person doesn't have COVID. And then when we bring them back, they're like, oh, they actually were COVID positive. And so when I switched over to the crematory, we had...
Hang on one second. I have one more question before you get to that part. So so I'm watching the media. You know, I saw some horrible things. I don't know why my camera just went out of focus, but it'll figure itself out. But I saw the trucks backed up with the freezer trucks. I want to say they were digging temporary graves in Central Park and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But what you describe never made the news. And I almost wonder, it's like I never saw that. I never really saw a lot of crowded ERs, although I knew there were crowded ERs.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you think that, like the bodies coming back from Vietnam back in the 60s, or the early 70s, don't you think that would have maybe made some people go, okay, this is not a hoax. This is fucking serious. But why couldn't we see that? Were you guys under strict orders, like don't film shit?
Well, we're always under strict orders to never film. But this is kind of why I wanted to talk to you, because it was so weird for me being a last responder and seeing the news and then seeing people deny this as well. And people are like, this is as deadly as the flu. And that's my point. It may not be as deadly, but the amount of death that we got from it was enough to break our whole system down. And I can only imagine if it gets worse. It totally plummeted our system. And we, unfortunately, we weren't paid very well. I mean, I only made $14 an hour at the time. We didn't get any relief. We didn't get any hazard pay. We didn't get any hazard paid for it. So I'm doing this to survive. My girlfriend wanted me to quit, but then we wouldn't be able to pay the bills. So I'm stuck in a position where I have to stay there. And so this is my point though. Like, we had so many bodies there. And if people weren't dying as much from COVID, because people like to say everybody was dying from COVID, they just signed off that everybody was dying from COVID. Not that many people actually died. I could tell you that we were working with more staff. We had people coming from out of state to come help us here in New Jersey from all over the country. We have more staff. We're working longer hours. Usually a crematory only works a set amount of hours. They're not allowed to work 24 hours due to state law and pollution regulations. So we were working 24 hours at the crematory. And we got backed up. We couldn't keep up with the amount of people that were dying every day. And that I don't want to get too much into like, well, it's not that deadly. From what I've seen,
it's
enough. It's enough for it to be a concern.
Well, I mean, you were saying, and I don't know if you misspoke or it's what you meant to say, but you were saying you've heard it's not as bad as the flu. I mean, it's worse than the flu. I mean, you even,
no, I agree. I think it is worse than the flu.
I mean, you literally got Donald Trump on tape telling the media that it's worse than the flu.
I agree.
So, I mean, the flu doesn't do this. You don't have this every year with the flu. So,
yeah.
So I'm with you. I mean, look, here's the deal. I mean, it must feel like the worst gaslighting in the world that, yeah, you're going out there every night doing this and you come home and you see these people, not wearing masks, not social distancing, saying, oh, it's a hoax. This is bullshit. Yeah. I mean, it must be maddening.
Yeah. And I could tell you, this is what I used to tell people all the time. I actually, at the beginning of COVID, I got in trouble for going into another funeral home with a mask on. My boss talked to me. He's like, listen, you're freaking people out by wearing a mask. Because I was wearing a mask before everybody else. Because I was keeping up with the news.
Okay.
And I was like, but shouldn't I do this if I feel like it protects me? And he was like, yes, but you're freaking people out. So don't do it when you go into the funeral home.
Wow.
And that really, that really got to me. I was going to quit on the spot. But like I said, I need to pay bills. It's not something I could do.
Right. Goodness gracious. Well, Andrew,
this is...
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was just gonna say what I used to always tell people back then is if you've seen what I've seen, the amount of bodies stacked up and the amount of people that we had in each location, you would wear a mask. There would be no doubt in your mind that you would want to wear a mask.
I just don't understand why footage isn't coming out of these places. I understand that you're not allowed to do it, but why in the world some investigative reporter hasn't snuck into one of these fucking places and snuck into the ER? Like somebody in the chat was saying, we see this stuff overseas. Like we'll see the ER in Italy or whatever. But it's like, show us the fucking ER in New York. Show us what that's like, because it's the only thing that's going to make a difference. Retro says they have shown this. I have never seen what Andrew is describing before, Retro Queen. But she says it's controversial, so it gets pulled. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, Andrew, I appreciate you sharing the story. I'm with you 100%. People should fucking take care and be safe, and why they don't, I can't tell you, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, just really quick, I'm sorry. But want to switch over to the crematory. We cremated in May alone over 1,300 bodies, and that's usually what we do in a year. So in just May alone, we did what we do in a year at the crematory.
How long does it take to finish a body from the moment you take it to the crematorium?
It depends on what type of container they come in, but usually I would say around 2 hours. And it also depends on their weight.
And how many at a time can you do? Like
we have 3 retorts, so we could do 3 at a time.
Poof, man. Insane. That's a hell of a business, sir, but I understand. Where do you want to go eventually? I mean, it sounds like you're there because you got to be right now, but what do you want to eventually be doing?
I'm certified to be a teacher, and I was actually going to become a teacher this September that passed, but due to COVID, I lost the opportunity.
What subject?
I love history, so I want to teach history.
Excellent. All right. Well, good luck with that, and thank you for calling, and thank you for watching. Retro says, you're awesome, Andrew. I will remember your role in future dealings with first responders. Yeah, we got a lot of people in the chat saying Andrew's a rock star, so thank you for what you do. Let me ask you a question. You called in and you said you were a fan. What are you a fan of? What games?
Twisted Metal Black, and if I have to tell you,
okay, well, here's the deal. The chat can be mad at me if they want. I was going to do a contest to give away this, but would you like this? It's the least we can do. Would you like to have this?
Hold on, I'm waiting for the stream to come up.
Yeah.
Oh hell yeah, I would love that.
Okay, I'm gonna send you the sorry chat. Maybe we'll give another one away down the road, but yeah, this has got to go to Andrew. Shoot me a DM on Discord, and I will get this into mail to you in a couple of days.
Sure. And can I just say for you, Twisted Metal Black actually did get me through this pandemic, because I said I suffered from a lot of anxiety, and I actually bought it on PS4 when I saw it. I didn't know it was on sale for PS4.
Okay.
And I played it throughout the whole quarantine and stuff, so it really got me through it. And,
had you not played it before, or you had?
No, I had. But I actually got like PlayStation Now, and I was trying to play the 2013, which I loved. But it wasn't working well with my internet, and then I saw that they actually sold Twisted Metal Black for the PlayStation 4, so I bought it again.
Got it.
And I haven't played it in years, and so I just had a blast replaying it.
Oh, that's great to hear. I haven't played it in years either. I should, but well, on behalf of all of us who made it, there was a bunch of us. I appreciate you saying that, and I'm glad that it helped you get through it, man. That's, entertainment's great when it does that. So I'm glad that we got to help you out in that way, and thank you for helping everybody out in the way you do. It's great. Terrible, but it's great.
Thank you for listening to me. I don't know if it was as compelling as you hoped it would be.
It was terrifying. I mean, we're doing this Halloween stream, and it's kind of meant to be, creepy and stuff, but this is scarier than anything we've heard today. So mission accomplished, I guess, tragically. But no, you'll make a great teacher, because I had people in the chat saying, let this guy keep talking. He tells a good story. So look, man, how many times my kids have come home and we talk about history, and I say, what do you mean you don't like history? What about this? What about this? What about this? And they say, Dad, they don't tell it like that. I'm like, it's amazing. So hopefully the kids will get to know you soon as a great teacher as well. All right, Andrew, thanks, man. Talk to you soon. And send me your address. I'll send you this out in the next day or two.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yep. Wow, what a story, fellas. I wasn't expecting that at all. Kind of makes what I want to follow it up with, pretty shitty. Retro says that a lot of times the footage that comes out of crematoriums and hospitals and all that does come out. But I guess there's controversy and it goes away. They pull it. I don't know, but I think we need to be seeing that shit, man. We see that shit. It's going to open a lot of eyes. It's going to open a lot of goddamn eyes. All right. Let's do something not so dark. What do I have queued up? I was going to show you there's a museum of tragic artifacts. Fuck it. I'm done with that. Let's watch some fun. Here's what we're going to do. All right. We've been going for about 3 hours. I'm going to show you guys. We're going to go through a couple of haunted houses together. And then after that, we will, I'm trying to figure out, do we want to take a break and then come back in like an hour and play some games, or we want to just keep rolling into games? And do we want to stay in the horror milieu? Do we want to play Cobra Kai? So kind of think about those things for the next couple of minutes as you are joining me on this tour. This is the Conjuring Maze at Universal Studios tour. Let us go on it together as friends do. Have I seen The Uninvited? I don't know what that is. I have not. Okay. All right, Totally Sick of Onions. Good to see you, man. Thanks for being here.
Hey guys, we're about to go into the Conjuring Maze.
And I haven't seen this. It could suck. I don't know.
I heard footsteps upstairs. Maybe it's the Hey.
Oh, Bukaki shows up. Oh, hello, Bukaki.
Did you also have 18 glasses of wine? Because we're on the same level. She better not have. I'm just. You guys are insane.
Okay, hi. So have you experienced any spiritual activity since you came to the house?
Yeah. I heard stomping.
Okay, you heard stomping.
I saw something.
You saw something.
I also saw something, but I don't know if that was me or the wine that saw it.
There was definitely something.
I
didn't have any wine, so you can trust me.
Okay, well, we've been just hearing a lot of reports of spiritual activity from the second floor. So I'm gonna check it out really fast, just to make sure. Trust me, I've been trained in this. I know.
Oh, she's never gonna go.
Oh my
She's dead. She's so dead.
She's dead.
Oh my god.
Take her.
She's gone. She's history.
Oh,
So
she's
good
back. Oh.
news. I did not see anyone.
Okay, so we're good.
But I am picking up on a lot.
Oh, no.
Sorry, do it. You need your EMF.
Okay, so we are gonna head into the relic room, which is much safer. The only things we have are no flash photography, normal is fine, stay with your guide at all times, and above all else, do.
I like that girl with the pentagram on her hoodie shirt looks scared. It's like, what do you think's gonna happen, lady? You're gonna be fine. It's all fake.
Welcome to the relic room of renowned demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren. My name is Lavinia, and I am an expert in the field of demonology. Please feel free to look around, but do not touch anything. Everything you see here is either haunted, cursed, or has been used in some kind of ritualistic practice. Nothing is a toy, not even the toy monkey. Now, I'm sure you're all interested in seeing our most malevolent item, so if you could all gather round up here, please. sorry, sir.
I'm sorry.
Do come around. That's it. Right here we have our infamous Annabelle doll. Oh, jeez. I don't think it's safe to be in this room anymore. Excuse me. Can we all go into the next room, please? Don't go anywhere. Wait in there for me quickly now. Stick together. Is everyone accounted for? Okay.
Our group seems a lot smaller.
Yeah. Oh dear. I don't think it's safe for you to remain in this house while Annabelle. Did that candle just light? Oh God. Quickly now, quickly. Everyone. Oh. Quickly down this ramp, straight to your left. Stick together in a group.
Good. So, last couple hours, this thing had to be closed down. It was so intense, demonic. Oh, you'll feel it. But it's better. We got a decent group, not too large. I like that. So we'll keep tight. Just follow me. Don't touch anything. We'll be safe. I do this for a living. Be okay. But this is one of the things. Every time I clean this thing up, this is what happens again. Look at this. It's crazy. You feel the drop temperature. And by far, this is the most demonic room in the house. The bedroom. Come on in. Just don't touch anything. We don't want to upset the spirits inside here. Come on in. You guys feel that? Drop in temperature?
Yeah, it's really cold.
Yeah. I mean, it's demonic presence in this room. Oh, and I should tell you, do not look at Annabelle directly in the face. She will infest your lives. And you do not want that. You don't want anything close to... Oh. I don't... Ma'am, don't... So here's the deal. Not so good for her, but good for us, because usually when she gets what she wants, we're safe to go through.
Okay.
But you go first.
Thanks.
I'll follow you.
Great. Oh boy.
Oh my gosh. I cannot believe this. Come on in, you guys. This, it's totally changed. Like I told you, like 10, 15 minutes ago, none of this stuff was all crazy like this. Come on in. I just don't know what to do. And I probably shouldn't have brought you. It's the exorcism. Head out that door. It's not safe to be in here. Head out there.
Okay.
Look what she made me do. Look what she made me do.
What's in there?
Well, it wasn't very effective. Or was she a ghost?
Come on in.
Okay.
Hurry up.
Okay.
By the stairs, guys.
I thought it was John Cusack for a minute. I'm like, wow, they spent money on this. I mean, it's cool. It's cool that it's more personalized. At least it's not just like you're walking in a path. It's like a story, but it is pretty fucking cheeseball. How much longer is this fucking thing? It's got 2 more minutes. Let's finish it out.
Come on over, guys. Come on over. Okay. My name is Ryan. Come on over. I don't bite, but demons do. Come on in. My name is Ryan. Like I said, I will be your guide. Hello, camera. For the rest of the evening's festivities, I've been doing this a long time. I look very good for my age. I'm not scared of much. However, I am scared of the second floor of this house. So, obviously, we're gonna go. If you see anything weird, bad, let me know. Good. High five. Thank you. Don't worry. It's just a shadow. It can't do anything to us.
Okay, that's good.
I don't know why it's still moving. That's... Okay, it's more than a shadow. All right. Change of plans. No second floor. What's
Back. Yeah. Sorry. This is the problem with video games that are horror, right? Because so much, like what just happened there isn't bad in the sense that if it was in a movie, it would be great. But if you don't have camera angles, you don't have lighting, you don't have cutting to show exactly what you want, it is just literally what's happening is what's happening, which is this lady runs out of the, and now she's just stuck. She's just standing there. And when you play a bunch of video games like that are horror based like this, they do all the trappings of horror, but without the camera and stuff, you can't lean on those tropes. It just doesn't work. It feels like this to me a lot of times.
Get off! Get off!
Okay, I'm out.
Get off! Get back, Steven!
All right, so look, here's what we're doing. I mean, it's all right. Look, I mean, it's really well done. It's not like I'm shitting on it. It's a really well made production. It's just ultimately, what are you gonna do? People need to find a different way to make horror if you don't have the accoutrement of filmmaking. Andreas says Strange Brigade is a cool game. It is a cool fucking game. You're talking about you had a good experience playing on Stadia. Right, man. People shit on Stadia, and they should shit on it to a degree because the business model and everything, but the actual tech experience of Stadia is pretty fucking good. Okay. This is what the plan is, fellas. Okay, that is going to do it for the Halloween special. I hope you had a good time. It's something different. We'll try to do it once a year. We'll see what happens. I have heard of the Haunted Prison, Zanmoff. I absolutely had. And I was going to show a video of it today. I couldn't find a good one. But anyway, the point is, that's Halloween special. I'm going to take a break. I will be back later tonight. I want to get back to games now. I'm excited. I want to play some games tonight. I don't know what I'm going to play, but just keep an eye on your Twitch if you want to hang out with me tonight and play some video games. Happy Halloween to you all. As a reminder, Saturday night is the first movie night for Gabbin' Games. We are going to watch Train to Whatever, Bahrain, and we're going to watch another motion picture. You need to be a member. You need to be a Cult of Calypso member. That's the $14 tier and up to hang out with us and watch those. But that's what's going to be happening on Saturday night. I'll send out the details later. In the meantime, though, thanks for hanging out with me. Happy Halloween, everybody. Thanks for all the great calls. Thanks for the membership. Thanks for the super chats. And I will see you guys. Oh, and also more. Thank you to DW Octorok. Thank you, Trey. The good stuff we got, fellas. I mean, look at that beautiful fucking thing up there. I'm putting that motherfucker on a mug. Look at that goddamn beautiful thing. Look at that fucking thing. Oh, and then the goddamn break was great too. Not that one. Not that one. That's my dog. Not that one. God damn it. I got to get the credits are going up soon. That one right there. We'll be doing an interview next week, hopefully with the creator of this game, Jack Pumpkin. And there you go. All right, fellas, take it easy. Have a great time. I'll see you there soon.